people. How you guys doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Mr. Black Mamba 305 here with you. Before we start, we want to give God the glory for everything that he has done. Thank him for sending his only begotten son, Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior, here to save us, to take care of us, to give us the word and point us to the kingdom. With that said, guys, let's start. Welcome, 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 everyone. Just going to wait a couple minutes till everybody show up so we can show out. Show out. Welcome, welcome. Who's the first person alive? What's up? This is a segment I like to do before we go live, is where you're calling from. Welcome, beautiful people. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How's everyone doing? I know there's one person alive, but in a minute it's going to turn to a couple hundred soon. So what's your name and where you're watching from? There's going to be a few more people here in a second. It's going to go from 1 to 10 to 15 to 30 to 40 and so forth. Who's the first person alive? I'm watching from rainy South Florida. Where are you guys watching from? Welcome to the live, fam. Welcome to the live. I just like to do this segment where I shout out my viewers, subscribers. Guys, I appreciate every one of you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you guys. I know there's one person in right now. We're just going to wait for a couple more people before we get the live started, get it hopping and popping. We have 9 people in the live. Welcome, welcome, fam. How you guys doing? Welcome to the live. Mr. Black Mamba 305. I like to do a little segment where I shout out to the people that are watching, my subscribers. Where are you guys watching from? Before we get started and watching this and hearing what the president have to say, where are you guys watching from? I'm watching from rainy South Florida right now. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome to the live. I appreciate every single one of you guys for joining in. The very broken USA. Oh, yeah? That's why everybody's trying to jump right into the broken USA. I want to shout out to Spoofable Mac. Welcome. Hey, my head is like an egg. Appreciate it, man. I know, man. As I get older, my head gets bigger and rounder and balder. It's all good, man. It's all the information I got up in there, man. Appreciate that. It's all good. I appreciate it. Jaunt Johnson, good day to you, sir. You know what I mean? Where you guys watching from? I know I got a bald head, man. It just keep getting balder and balder, man. Any advice on how I can grow some hair? Or I got to go do those little injections and put those little black spots in my hair? Hypermodernity? What does that mean? John, what country's flag is that? I'm not quite sure. Well, I appreciate it, my brother. Appreciate the compliment. My man says I don't look that bad, man. Grow my beard longer? I've thought about it, man, but initially, since I never had a beard before, I never really tried to grow a beard. But every time I try to grow a beard and it starts getting itchy, I just start shaving it off, man. And I just never got to doing it, man. Everybody says I should hit a beard, man, but I'm not necessarily a big beard guy. I know a lot of girls like that. You know what I mean? So Jaunt is hailing from Belfast, Ireland. Never been. Love to go there. Christy Ferreira, appreciate you. Thank you for joining the live. Where are you watching from, Christy? Hello to you too. Appreciate every one of you guys jumping on the live. Where are you guys watching from? What you guys? Oh, Texas is in the house. Hey, Christy, my sympathy goes out to all the people that are. Thank you, Christy. Appreciate you. Spoof Fable Mac shouting out from North Carolina, just our neighbors up the street. I'm in South Florida, so you guys not that far away. So you guys are right up in North Carolina. I was saying to Christy, what's the temperature like? Not the physical temperature, but what's the air like with the flooding that's been going on in Texas? What's going on there in Texas? I'm probably going to do a live about that. Maybe have a discussion before I go into that. But we definitely want to shout out the governor of Texas. You know, he's been a spearhead in securing the border. We want to appreciate that. Before I say anything else, Dick Grant, he shouting out of Wales, Great Britain. I know it's probably overcast right there. Every time I see, any pictures of Great Britain, it always looks so rainy and dreary. I don't think I could live there, man. I love Great Britain, but what is weather like there right now? South Florida is nice right now. It's a little rainy right now, but besides that, it's always pretty sunny here, man. But Christy, what does it look like in Texas right now? Humid? I can just imagine that with all that rain that you guys have gotten, the sun coming back up, boom, it's hitting that water that's getting, dried out, all that humidity is happening. All right. Shout out to everyone in the live. I appreciate every single one of you guys. Thank you guys for sharing where you guys are from. You know what I mean? You guys know that I always go live and I try to, watch it. I'm the type of guy, I like to watch the news instead of, I like to watch live broadcasts or Care. Where's Care, Texas? I've never heard about KERR, Texas. And what's so worse about it? Like, what's been going on? Just like a lot of erosion. And why you think that the flooding is so drastic this time around? Do you think it's because a lot of houses are being built? They're eroding the soil, they're leveling off stuff, they're flattening out places? Because sometimes when you build too much homes, and I know Florida and Texas, we build a lot of homes because a lot of people are trying, like a lot of places people are moving to is Florida and Texas. They want to get away from the cold. If they come to the United States, they do want to get away from the cold. The snowbirds and people up north, as they get older, they want to stay out of the cold, so they move to Florida or they move to Texas. Florida, Texas, North and South Carolina, Georgia, the southern states. So what do you think caused the flooding to be so bad out there? Carl, man, welcome to the live. Appreciate you. Thank you, man. Most definitely. I'd love for America to be, 120 people dead and 100 more missing. Man, I pray, my heart goes out to, all the people that are missing family members and all the people that passed on, most definitely. I'm from a Caribbean country. I'm from Jamaica, so we experience a lot of hurricane all the time, and people pass away a lot. So I'm not, minimizing it at all. So I definitely understand. And I also live in Florida, where we kind of on a hurricane belt. I don't know if you guys remember the last hurricane we had, maybe about a year and a half ago. It was pretty bad in some places, flooded in a lot of places. But where I live, yes, it gets flooded sometime, but to be honest with you, man, the houses are very well built here, and I really don't experience too much. Even the last major hurricane we had, I still had electricity because our electricity run underground, and I still had water. I remember doing a hurricane blowing hard after I put up all my, my defensive stuff. I was inside watching Netflix with AC and everything. Light never went out, electricity never went out. My internet and the electricity runs underground, so I was never affected. I remember my part of where I live. I after the hurricane, I was like freezing up ice and taking it to my friends. Francisco, welcome to the live. Aranda, appreciate you, man. Thank you for joining the live. Appreciate you. The rivers probably cause it. Okay, I can, okay. Where the rivers just overflowed and then water just kind of divert into communities. And a lot of that stuff is landslide, and like I said before, by moving the soil and digging it up to make these houses, you take away the roots of a lot of the soil that keep the soil together. So you create a lot of erosion. So when the water comes down, that root is not there to keep the soil together. It's easily broken apart, and a lot of that stuff. And that should be basic knowledge. A lot of people should know that. So a lot of that can be caused by building up stuff. Did the state give me all that? Is that for me, Nico? All the information, that's the science, my friend. That's stuff you should learn in high school. I'm in Jamaica. That stuff, I'm from Jamaica, so you should learn that stuff in high school. That shouldn't be the state giving me. That should just people be reading. Just like how I don't really watch the news just to get the news from any place, Fox, CNN, ABC, MSNBC. I actually watched all the speeches that are made. I watch the Forbes commentaries that they have in Congress. I see directly what goes on. I don't just wait for the news. I actually look up stuff. If I hear some people talk about something, I go and I look it up. That's called due diligence. Do your due diligence, and nobody will ever have to. Pardon me. Nobody will ever have to give you fake news. But with that said, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and start the live and hear what President Trump is saying, and we go from there. But guys, appreciate you guys. I love all you guys. I'm up to almost 10,000 subscribers, and and you know what, guys? I have to thank you guys, man. Nico, I don't understand what you're saying. How am I walking contradiction? Like, I don't understand that. Explain yourself. Don't just say stuff and don't explain yourself. You're being verbal in the chat. Appreciate it, Chrissy. Appreciate it, Christy. But my man Nico said I'm a contradiction also. Explain to the rest of us. Dima, out of Russia. Appreciate anybody from Russia in the live. So Nico, I'm still waiting for that explanation how I'm a contradiction. Please tell me so I can explain myself. I want to know how I'm a contradiction so I can speak of that. If you're gonna say stuff, for the person hosting the live, if you're gonna accuse them of something, back it up. That's how I do. All right. If you don't have anything like to back up some statements you're gonna make, then don't make it, man. You know what I mean? I mean, you can make it, but it's whatever, All right, guys, with that said, let's hear what the president has to say, man. I appreciate every single one of you guys.
Percent of them. This all was made possible by going from 2 to 5%. The more people are going to want to. And those countries, those European countries, and I said, look, we have an ocean. It's not fair that we did, because under the Biden administration, we paid about 3.5 times more than they did. We were in for $350 billion. Got nothing for it. We were in for 350, and they were in for 100. So which really meant one thing, because you have great business leaders here. It meant very simply that they were better negotiators than our president was. But so this is a very important thing, and hopefully that will come to an end at the end of 50 days. If we don't have a deal, then we're going to have to do. We have no choice but to do secondary tariffs. You call it secondary tariffs, which are pretty tough. Which we don't want to have to do, but let's see what happens. But we thought we had a deal numerous times. I'd get home, I'd say, First Lady, I had the most wonderful talk with Vladimir. I think we're finished. And then I'll turn on the television, or she'll say to me one time, wow, that's strange because they just bombed a nursing home. I said, what? So we don't like that. But I want to thank you all for being here, and welcome to the first ever White House Summit of Faith and Business Leaders. You're really some of the greatest business leaders in the country. When I looked at some of the names, I said, whoa, that's big stuff.
And guys, no matter what you guys say about this man, if you have some morality in you, a faith leader summit, Biden and Kamala, all they did was push the woke movement and the LGBT community movement. Like, when was the last time you heard a president talk about faith and the White House? Hell no, man. You can't hate on this guy that much, bro. I'm sorry.
We have here today.
The Bible says, if you declare me in front of the world, in front of my Father, I too will declare you. Get the hell out of here, man.
In fact, before I was president, I would have been very intimidated, but now I'm president, so I don't have to.
Best pizza maker. My bad. I'm sorry.
This country, freedom, hard work, risk taking.
My bad. I'm sorry.
Almighty God.
He says, stop pausing.
Into God in this room. And it's very nice. Your business leaders who believe strongly. We have some business leaders that don't.
Christopher Chavez. Yes, I do believe in this douche. I'm sorry.
Them as much. But I want to thank Pastor Paula White. She's been my friend for a long time. And John for convening this incredible group. Her husband's one of the most talented musicians in the world. Stand up, please. Stand up. Stand up. I stole a couple of his songs for the rallies, and he never sued me, so I was very happy. But we all come from the same place, right? So it was great, and we appreciate it, John. Thanks as well to Treasury Secretary Scott Bassett, who's doing a fantastic job. He goes on television and he calms the market. I go on television, I rile the market, and I say, we better send him in there, Howard, right? And the market's become so calm.
Kamala went silent. She knows nobody don't F with her no more. Not even blacks don't F with her. She's a loser.
Steelers just sending out the paper. They keep saying, well, he hasn't made the deal. Well, we made a number of deals, but why isn't he doing this? Because the paper is better than any deal we can make. Do you understand? The people at this, Kevin, they asked you that question this morning. You were great this morning, but they said, well, when is he going to start making deals? The next time we could say, just, no, every time he sends out a document that you have to pay 35%, or 25%, or 50%, or in one case, 100%. Those deals, you can't beat those deals, but we're still willing to talk. And they all, literally every country wants to make a deal. We're in a good position. You would call it a position of strength. I don't talk that way because I'm a politician now, unfortunately. And I don't.
United States is a business, and this is a businessman. Keep that in mind. Say whatever you want, but the business of running a country is a business.
Paid us, nobody did anything for us, nobody helped us, and that's much different. NATO is a much different situation now. When I got in, I believe we were paying for 100% of NATO.
Of course.
And now they're paying, they went from 2%, but they were paying 1% to 5% that they're paying. It's a big difference. It's about $1 trillion difference. And they're wealthy, for the most part, wealthy countries.
They very are. Because they haven't been spending any money on anything.
Among the most powerful, among the wealthiest countries in the world. So they're going to start paying, and they want to pay.
Of course. Let them tax their own people. Out on yachts every year, doing nothing.
Here, but it's very important. So
letting you pay thousands of dollars to go on some silly trip while we protect them.
Am I right when I say I really don't want deals? I just want the paper to get sent? Right? It's true. I don't know if this is on television. It's always on television. SBA administrator.
Somebody asked me what size this TV was. I forgot to tell them. It's a 98-inch. I have a pretty large living room, so I had to get a super large TV. I got a 75-inch, and it just made it look so tiny. Before, I used to have a projector that used to be on this wall, but projector was too noisy.
From the earliest days of our republic, the steady compass of faith has guided the strong hands of American workers, builders.
Thank you guys for joining. Appreciate every single one of you guys.
Our country was founded by pilgrims and believers, and every generation since, Americans of faith have built our communities and forged new industries and enriched our country by millions and millions of people and ways. John D. Rockefeller, J.C. Penney, Charles Goodyear, Truett Cathy, and frankly, we have people I could name right in this room sitting here that their names are every bit as big as that. They were inspired by their love of God, and now the proud tradition continues with all of you. And this group reminds us, as a nation that prays is a nation that prospers. And you see that I think one of the reasons we went so bad is they really wanted to take God and religion out of your lives. And there was nobody to, look up to. There was just nobody. It was, we were freewheeling, and we can't freewheel. Now we have to bring religion back into the country, and we're starting to do that, I think, at a very high level, Paula, very, very high level. You see churches are starting to fill up again. Under the Trump administration, America is prospering and America is winning like never before. Our country is back. So I was in Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and then a month ago we were in Europe with all of the NATO countries, European countries, and plus Canada. And almost everyone said almost the exact same words. They said, 1 year ago, your country was dead. Terrible term, but that's what it is. Your country was dead. We thought it was finished. And now you've got the hottest country anywhere in the world. It's true. It's the hottest country. Did you see they found $25 billion of essentially profits last night? They said, where did it come from? It came from management, but it came from tariffs. And it came from, good business skill. And I've always made money. Now I'm making it for you people. I've had good days and bad days, but in good days and bad days, I always found a way to make money, and we have to do that for our country. But and we did 188 billion in Scott just now, 188 billion in tariffs, 188, and we haven't even started yet. That's only for cars and steel. We actually have barely started. The economy is roaring, business confidence is soaring, incomes are up, prices are down, and inflation is dead. It's dead. We have a bad Fed chairman, really bad. If he would lower the rates, and I tried being nice to the guy, it doesn't help. He's like a knucklehead. No, he's a knucklehead. A stupid guy. He really is. Each point, think of this, each point costs us $360 billion. Billion. 1 point, 360 billion. 2 points, you got 600, 700 billion dollars. And we're way high. We're at 450 or 425, 450. And how do you go borrow money at 1% when the Fed has you at 450? And, it's not that easy. I get angry at them. Why are we paying so much? Because he's got you up at this number. And
there's more to the Bay than our buildings, or even what we're building. There's more to see than the sights. More to our sports than the games. More to our home than our housing. With the Chronicle, there's more to San Francisco.
Strength smells fabulous. Oh.
Amazon hates this, but there's absolutely nothing they can do to stop it. There's a classified grade stealth drone taking over the skies, and it's so militarized, the US Product Safety Commission is trying to ban it from being sold to the public. But it's not just the government panicking. Major drone brands are in full meltdown mode. Why? Because this thing, called Ghostwing, is blowing their $3,000 models out of the water, and it only costs $99. The company behind it, they're not playing by the rules. They've already moved over 2.4 million units in just the last 30 days. By cutting out Amazon, Walmart, and every greedy middleman, they're going direct to consumer, slashing the price and making Hollywood-level drone tech available to everyone. And the features? Insane. Ghostwing has been featured on Fox News, NBC, and even CNN for its military-grade precision, 4K ultra-wide camera, and jaw-dropping silent flight system. It's packed with autofollow AI, meaning you can record yourself in full cinematic motion. No controller needed. Its high-intelligence GPS tracking locks on your position up to 3 miles away, and if the battery runs low or signal weakens, it flies itself back to you. Even better, it's nearly indestructible. Thanks to its aerospace-grade frame and auto-collision sensors, it's virtually crash-proof, even for total beginners. But here's the part that drone companies pray you don't hear. The man behind Ghostwing is Jake Mitchell, a former top-tier engineer for a US military contractor. He got sick of watching his old companies.
we should always be the lowest. Now that we're doing great, We have no inflation, think of it, our stock market hit record highs, everything's hitting a record high. We're really running good with no inflation. And we should be at 1%. We should be less than 1%. I think Switzerland is the lowest at like 0.5%. We should be lower because without us, there's no world. I don't want to sound overly aggressive, but without us, you have no world. And we put our country on solid footing. We had a man as president who was the worst administration, worst president in the history of our country. We've had some bad ones, but he's the worst ever. What he did at our border can never be forgotten. 25 million people allowed to pour into our country, all unchecked, unvetted, murderers, gang leaders, gangsters, people that you don't want in our country under any means, terrorists. We have many terrorists in our country, and we're watching them. Tom Homan, by the way, is doing a phenomenal job. Christine Noem is doing a phenomenal job. We had last week, it was reported, nobody, not one, even I don't know if I believe that number, but it's done, the numbers are done by liberals. So they said, did you know that? They said we had nobody, zero, cross our border. It's the first time that ever happened. Zero. Did you hear that? It's crazy. But we have people from mental institutions, insane asylums even. That's a mental institution on steroids, essentially. But we had people coming into our country. We can't have them. And we have to get them out. But we can never forgive this administration this past. And I'm okay with administrations. I mean, I can go through a Democrat administration, say, hey, look, they worked hard, they tried hard. But the things that they did to this country, we can never, ever forget it. From the rigged elections to the border, to the transgender for everybody, from men playing in women's sport. You ever take a look at some of these records? There was a long distance race, a marathon, where they had a great female runner, a number of them, but they had one in particular, and they had just an average male runner who had transitioned. He won the race at the end of the day by 5 hours and 14 minutes. They waited for 5 hours. The weightlifting records are better, though. The weightlifting records are better, you know, the way they took a record that hasn't been broken for 18 years. 18 years. And, you know, they'd add a quarter of an ounce on each side of the barbell. And it just, a little tiny piece of stuff, she'd go up and she couldn't get it up. And this guy comes along, have you lifted before? Yes, at a low level. He was a low level lifter as a man, but transitioned. He goes up to that thing, bing, 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 bing. Could have done it all day long. Broke the record by 119 pounds. The whole thing is crazy. The swimming records are pretty good too. You had to see that. I told the story. You had this great group of young ladies, and they grew up with each other because, you know, they sort of swam at the top level. And they were swimming, and one girl was seriously injured. She looked left, and she saw the same girl she grew up with, Kelly in California. Same girls, you know, at a young age, they sort of rise to the top. She looked to the right, she saw the same girls, but there was this giant standing right next to her. And he had transitioned, you probably heard this, he had transitioned. And she'd never seen her before. And when the race was started, he blew by her so fast that she suffered massive wind burn. They had to take her. And he got out of the race and he went and had a little lunch, and then he came back and watched the rest of the young ladies finish up. The whole thing is crazy, and it's so demeaning to women. It's so demeaning to women, but it is what it is. But what they did to this country, and we ended all of that, as you probably know. We ended the woke. The woke stuff is no longer in favor. But we're doing fantastically. Wages for blue-collar workers have surged by the most in over 60 years. Gas prices have reached the lowest level in 5 decades. Actually, we're going to see some really good numbers where, you know, drill baby drill, drill baby drill. I got to make sure that people can afford to produce the gas. But the gas has gone to the lowest level in decades. And you're seeing $1.99, $1.98, and I saw 195 at certain states, not California, because every time it goes down, they add taxes onto it. You're at $6, $7. They just add taxes. All they do is they keep adding taxes. Terrible governor doesn't know what he's doing. He may be a candidate, but if you go by success, you can't have him be a candidate. And on Friday it was announced that the United States Treasury ran a budget surplus. Is that true, Scott? In June for the first time in many, many decades. Wow. I didn't know that. That's a good one too. We're gonna have to put that in my repertoire, Scott. But the biggest victory of all came 10 days ago when I signed the one big, beautiful bill into law. Right? And just as I promised, we did something that was amazing. You know, everybody was against it. I wanted it. I know Scott and Howard liked the idea of it too, but it was very risky because they've never done anything like it in terms of this. It's the biggest bill ever passed, of its kind ever passed, by far. And they were gonna cut it into 2, 3, or even as many as 7 bills. And I said, the problem is that in the one big bill, everybody gets something. When you cut it into 7s, there are 4 or 5 of them, or 3 of them, right, Kevin, that you get nothing. All they're gonna do is fight it. You'll never get them passed. And so we went with it. I was on a show called Deface the Nation. Have you heard of it? They're so bad. They're so bad. These people, they're so average. But I was on this show, Deface the Nation. Ladies and gentlemen, President Donald J. Trump on Deface the Nation. No, but they're all so bad. But we were on the show, and she said to me a question. She said, what would you call this bill? Would you want to have it called One Big Beautiful, or would you rather see it? I said, what I want is one great, big, beautiful bill. And Speaker Mike Johnson, John Thune, they were watching, and they said, what a great name for the bill. We actually ended up calling it that. Huh? We took the great out. I actually liked it even better. One great, big, beautiful. But they said, let's a little bit of a low key. But we got to pass. But we got to pass because there's something for everybody. And there are things that people don't like, but you need them for the country. You know, you have to do some things that are great for the country, but they wouldn't necessarily get the votes. And we got the votes. Think of it, not one Democrat vote. All the goodies that we got, not one Democrat voted in either the Senate or the House. And we're talking about tax cuts and business. I mean, so many different things that are so good, right? Not one Democrat vote went with us, not one. So we had to get almost every, in the House we got 218 to 2. Think of that, 218 to 2. Nobody could do that. It's never been done. And that says, you know, and we have Rand Paul Jr., who's a guy from, we call him Rand Paul Jr. because he always votes no. A guy named Massey, always votes no. We had another guy who I helped very, very strongly, helped him with a very personal situation, got him through it. And he voted no. I said, thank you very much, I appreciate it. And then we went to the Senate, and you had, of course, Rand Paul, who always votes no. They call him Just Say No. I think they think it's, no, I think and you know, I got him elected. I had to go to Kentucky.
Everyday products for women over 40. I call it the daily routine.
Learn more at laurageller.com.
So there's Shopify, dropshipping, Amazon FBA, but what if I told you there's a third model? It's new, it's a spin on regular dropshipping called AI commerce, and it's better than both of these combined. So that sounds crazy, but let me explain. My name is Peter Savo, and I stumbled into business when I was 11 years old. Fast forward a decade and a half and built a marketing agency. We've helped over 300 clients make over $100 million online profitably. Now, the interesting part is that most of our clients were in e-commerce, actually Shopify stores, and we took some more experience. We've grown good to great, right? Even 7, 8 figures. Now, if you too want to build a successful AI-powered e-com store and you want to pay most of my mentorship fee after you're profitable, just click this ad and I'll explain how this works. Now, I'm not your typical guru, okay? Like, we've actually done this for our clients. I never really taught this in public. We've done it again and again. We've done it quite successfully. And with AI, things have kind of changed quite a bit, right? There's AI tools now that can help you find winning products. There's AI tools that can help you set up, manage ads. There's AI for fulfilling customer support tickets and such, right? So these days, you don't even need like a lot of tech skills or business experience or a huge budget for ads or inventory, because this AI component makes it a lot easier for anybody to do this and start. And since I've been doing this for over a decade, I feel semi-confident that assuming we're the right fit, I can actually help you build a successful business like this. And then because of that, I feel confident enough to say that you could pay most of my fee after you're profitable. So again, if you're interested in this kind of like pay-as-you-profit mentorship, click this ad and I'll tell you more about it. Lastly, if you're skeptical, good. Honestly, you should be, because there's a lot of fake gurus out there running around making all sorts of fake promises. But let me do this. I'll play you a clip of all sorts of client results. I'll speed it up because it's just too much to be in a short video ad. And as you watch it, you can make a decision if you want to click this ad or not, right? Best case, you might end up building a successful AI e-com store that's going to provide you with freedom for the rest of your life. Worst case, you waste 7 minutes of your time, because that's how long the video is, that could have gone towards watching funny cat videos. And I know this is a bummer, but sometimes you got to sacrifice 7-minute cat videos for a lifetime of freedom. So hopefully I convinced you. Click the ad and I'll speak with you soon. This is Peter Salvo.
Twice to do rallies to get him elected twice. But they forget, a lot of politicians forget. Then we had a couple of others, Susan Collins, she's another one, just say no. She always brutal. And we had some people tell us, I guess, it was a no, right? He was a no. And they said he was brave. He said no to the president, but he resigned the following morning. So anyway, that was terrible, I thought. But we couldn't lose more than 3. And we had 3 that said no. And so we won that 50 to 3. So it's pretty tough. And the senator came over to me and said, I can't believe you won the House. Great guy, this guy, the senator, Eric Schmidt, who's done a great job. He said, I can't believe you won the House. I said, actually, he says, remember 218 to 2. We needed 3, so we could have lost 3. We actually only lost 2. I said, no, actually, the Senate was tougher than the House of the 2. That question is asked to me, who was tougher? I'd say the Senate was tougher, actually, amazingly. It shouldn't have been. We had a slightly bigger margin in the Senate proportionally, but it was brutal. It was, they said, sir, we have 12 hard no's. You know, hard no is not recoverable, right? This was at 2:30 in the morning. Mike Johnson called up. It could be 20, but it's at least 12. So could you call them, sir? And I said, what time? I said, 2:30 in the morning. And we have to win, right? We can never give up. The people in this room, right? You never gave up. My supporter right from day one, and her husband with a bad damn back, right? How's his back? Is he okay? Every time I see him, he's got a bad back, but he's got a lot of cash, so. A lot. He's got a lot of cash. But no, they're great people. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it. You were there right at the beginning, huh? Always was there. But we have a situation where we call up these people at 2:30 in the morning, and I call up. I got along with them all great. I like them, but they're tough. You know, they're congressmen. When you're a congressman for 20 years, or you're a senator for years, you're smart and you're a survivor because you go through all sorts of hell. But I called up Congressman. I said, Jim, hi, Jim, how are you doing? He said, fine, sir. I said, family's good, yeah. He said, sir, you have my vote. I never said what I was going on. I said, I do, thank you very much. But how do you know what I'm calling you about? Well, he said, sir, I've been your friend for 2.5 years. You've never called me during normal hours. So I assume that if you're calling me at 2:30 in the morning, you're not calling me to ask me how's the family doing. I said, yeah. So, pretty good. So I called up everyone, I think everyone with the exception of one, I had to speak a little bit, but I call up, sir, you have my vote. Thank you. Sir, you have my vote. Think of that. And we got 12 votes in a matter of, I called back 20 minutes later, I said, you got all the votes. That's spirit, right? That's spirit. They wanted to maybe hear, they wanted to have a little love. You know, the sad part is that some of the best people are the people that don't get any publicity because they go with something because it's good. So a guy like some of the people I'm talking about, but some of the people where you didn't even have to call, they vote yes, 100%. You don't have to waste any time with them. You don't have to beg them, come on, you can do it, come on, let's have lunch, let's have dinner. And then you have other guys that want you to suffer. I mean, some of these people that I just mentioned, whose names I just mentioned, you got to go through hell. And the ones that are really good and they love the country and they're doing right. I mean, what's the alternative? You know, the alternative here, you're getting the biggest tax cut in history. And with the Democrats, you're going to have the biggest tax increase in history. Now, we could go into 100 other details. They're equally as crazy. So I said, so what's the difference? So you're going to say no, and you're going to have the biggest tax cut in history this way, and you're going to have the biggest tax increase the other way, and you'll probably end up in a depression, because if you ever did that, it would be a shock to the whole world. That's what happened in 1929. I said, so you're going to vote for the other side? Well, sure, I'll do what's really appropriate. You know, they're losers. But you have that. Really, they're grandstanders. You know, you have grandstanders, and you have in every business. And the Democrat has far fewer. They're grandstanders. But, you know, the one thing about them, they have bad policy. They're evil people in many ways, but they stick together. You don't have it where you don't have, I don't want to use too many names, but you don't have a Mitt Romney in the midst who makes you suffer. You don't have some of the people that I mentioned who make it so hard. They make it so hard. And the alternative is one of two things. You can either get all these things and make the economy strong, or you're going to literally have perhaps a depression where you people so rich, so beautiful, so nice to look at, will be totally busted. And let's see how long your wife stays with you. You're beautiful. She'll stay with you for about 3 weeks and she'll say, darling, I can't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore, darling, I'm leaving you. I said to one guy, he's a very, very unattractive man, but he's smart and he's rich. And I said, you better hope we get this thing passed because your wife will be gone within about 2 minutes. He said, you're right. But so we had a tremendous success, and it gives you the biggest tax cut in American history, the largest spending cut in American history, and the largest border security investment of all time. And again, we're doing great on the border. I almost say, why do we need it? We have such good numbers, but you need it. Ultimately, you're going to need it. I built hundreds of miles of border wall. Without that, you could have never had the results that we had. But to lift up the American family, we increased the child tax credit and made school permanent. We made it all permanent, the school choice. And we expanded school choice, and for every newborn child, we created what's called the Trump accounts. And this was Michael Dell. I don't know if Michael Dell's here, but Michael Dell, well, you tell him I mentioned his name because it's true. He would call me for 3-4 years. I didn't know Michael. I just know his great success story and a great guy. That's all he talked about was the account where you put $1,000 and as a baby is born, $1,000 into an account, and you let it be invested by, I guess you pick out some good money, determinant or fund or index. And I guess at a certain age, like when they're 30, goes earlier than that, but when they're 30, they're supposed to have like $75,000. That would have a huge impact on their lives. And it could even be more than that. So that passed. And you know, it's funny, that was one of the easiest things we had to get passed. Can you believe it? I thought, so many people loved it. They actually called it the Trump accounts, and I didn't fight for that name, right? I didn't fight for that. I said, that's a very great honor. But Michael Dell was amazing. That's what he said he's going to invest billions of dollars doing it for children. He's going to put a lot of his money into it. But even more importantly than the economic success, we're restoring the spirit of our country. America is once again an optimistic nation. We were so down. It was depressing. We were so down. That's why I ran again. I got cheated. They rigged the election. But I said, you know, if I didn't think I won, I would have never run. Because it's like a poll, right? You lose, you lose. It's worse than a poll. But I saw the lack of spirit in this country for 4 years. It was a dark, horrible place. And for people of religion who were arresting your pastors, they were arresting if you went to church and you had a service outside, and the reason outside because you had the COVID, and you could go outside. They arrest everybody for even having the service. I'll tell you, religion took a big hit because of the way they treated all of us. And we now have a confident nation, an optimistic nation, and we have one nation under God, and we'll always keep that term. And we're bringing back, very importantly, and not just evangelicals or Protestants or this, and all religions, we're bringing them back into our country. As president, I've ended the radical left war on faith, and we're once again protecting religious freedom like never before in our country. We're protecting it like never before. We're getting rid of the Johnson Amendment that didn't let the pastors and ministers and everybody speak about politics. Now you're able to speak about politics, Paula. You can speak about, you can say, I don't like that guy, and they don't take away your tax exempt status. You know, they take away tax exempt. And I'll tell you, remember when that started? It was at the meeting room before I ran, 2015, a year before the election, and I was with 50 faith leaders who were great, very well-known people, mostly Protestant, but you had rabbis, you had an imam, 2 imams, and we were talking, and I said, I'd love to have your endorsement. And they looked at me like, what? I'd love to have your endorsement. We have such respect for you, and you control it, really very powerful. And they looked at me, they didn't say anything. You remember that? And I said, what's wrong with these people? I didn't know about the Johnson Amendment. Don't forget, I never did this stuff before. You know, it wasn't like I ran. I was on the other side. I was on the same side as you. You write contributions to people that you like. But I never ran, so I didn't know about the Johnson Amendment. And I called Paula and Jenny aside. I said, could I ask you, when I said I'd want your, support, your political support and endorsement, they looked at me very weird. What's going on? Well, sir, there's a thing called the Johnson Amendment. And if they even speak about anything having to do with politics, they will immediately take away their tax-exempt status. And if they lose the tax-exempt status in your world, that means you might as well close up your church. I said, you gotta be kidding. So I can't really, and I told them, we had another meeting a couple of months later, and I said, you people in theory are the most powerful people. You're more powerful than man or woman because we have more than 50, let's assume men and women are 50-50, but you have 80%. Between all the different religions. I said, you have more power than anybody, but you're not allowed to use your power. I said, we're going to get rid of that because people want to hear what you have to say more than anybody else, pretty much. And we did get rid of it, and we launched something that's great. And now you see people, if they like somebody, they're able to talk about that somebody for office, right, Jenny? We're able to talk about a certain politician that has your values and likes your religion. It's okay. And that was Lyndon Johnson, a very powerful guy. And he had a problem with a pastor, I think in Houston. And the pastor was not a fan of his, and he put the clamps on the guy. He really did. Amazing, actually. And we opened it up. I looked at him, and we're up 68 stories in the air at Trump Tower, and in this beautiful conference room. I look down, and I see people walking up and down the street. He said, that means that person walking up and down the street, any one of them have more power than you do because you're not allowed to even talk about it. You were even afraid to talk about it, but they're not afraid any longer, and I think they appreciate it. As president, I've ended the radical left war on faith, and we're once again protecting religious freedom instead of destroying it, and God is once again welcomed back into our public square. Very important. And I stopped the Biden administration's persecutions of Christians and pro-life activists. They would put people in jail if they even uttered the word. And, well, look at me. I mean, look what happened to me. I was under investigation more than the late, great Alphonse Capone. Think of it. Al Capone would kill people for dinner. If he left the room and he didn't like him, he'd have him shot, killed, buried under a building someplace as part of the foundation of a building. They're all over the place. And I said I had more time under investigation than the legendary Alphonse Capone, or probably anybody else. I had, but I had a lot of good people with me, and most importantly, I had the base with me at a level that it actually became stronger. The one thing I did that was very helpful, I was indicted 5 times. Indicted. That wasn't a word that was in my father's looking down, my mother's looking down. That my son's not supposed to be indicted, I think. I got indicted 5 times, impeached 2 times. All bullshit, right? All terrible stuff. And I got impeached for making a perfect phone call. Good luck, congratulations. I had a guy come up to me, a secretary of energy from before. Sir, could you call up, of all people, President Zelensky? And I called him. I actually held off. He must have come 10 times. Please, sir. It's because they wanted to do business or something, oil and gas. Who the hell knows what they wanted? You can imagine what they wanted, but they wanted, would you call up President Zelensky? And I did. When I finally got him, I said, congratulations on your win. He had just won. This is early in the process. Should have never been, that war should have never taken place, by the way. If the election weren't rigged, that war would never be happening right now. Millions of people being killed. That war would never be happening. But would you call up? So I say, hello, President. How are we doing? Everything good? Good. Congratulations on your big victory. Wonderful job. Great, great, great. Hang up. That's it. I get indicted for making a phone call. I told that secretary, who wasn't the smartest bulb, he wasn't Rick Perry. You don't want him on your debate team. Let me put it that way. Rick, you're not going to be on my debate team, Rick. But he's the one that asked me to do it, Rick Perry. And I said, thanks, Rick. That was a wonderful suggestion. I just got indicted over your stupid call. This is what we have to put up with, right? This is what we have to do. We have to put up with things. But it's been an amazing period of time, and we've straightened out so many bad things in this country. I created a presidential commission on religious liberty and established a Department of Justice task force to eradicate anti-Christian bias, because you have a very big anti-Christian bias that you don't think about and you don't hear about it. I established the White House Faith Office to defend and represent people of all faiths, and it's located in the White House. You've never had an office. You've never had that. And Jenny and Paul are there all the time, but we have it in the White House, so people can call up and complain, or they can call up and say, you're doing a great job, whatever. But we have it actually in the White House. Nobody's ever done that. We've restored the fundamental principle that God created 2 genders, male and female. That was a tough one. And we're defending parents' rights, where the parents' rights have been taken away from them in schools. You look at some of these school boards, it's like they're brutal dictatorships, and we brought it all back. The parents have the control now. And last Monday, we effectively eliminated the infamous, as I said, Johnson Amendment, such a big deal, and various other amendments and things that really took away your free speech. That's what they've done. They've taken away free speech. I also want to recognize the incredible contribution of our great First Lady, Melania, and she says hello. And Melania did the Be Best initiative in supporting children in our foster care system. She visits a lot of children, a lot. Yesterday we went to the game, the soccer game. I don't know if you saw it in the Meadowlands. It was incredible. And she's always thinking about the children that have a hard time, in helping America's young people reach their fullest potential. And it's remarkable to think that it was only 1 year ago this week that my time on earth nearly ended. And if you look at that, God was with me, because that's something that, in theory, I should not be with you today. Well, I believe that, and I believe it, that my life was saved by God to really make America great again. I really believe that. I think I have a son, he's a great shooter, like a championship shooter. Don and Eric is a great shooter, both of them. But they said that at that distance with that gun, he didn't have a chance. And we turned the head at the right time, didn't we? Huh? We turned the head at the right time. So I don't know, some people say it was lucky, and some people say something else. I say something else. I think God helped us. So I always believed in giving back to this nation, a nation that we love so much, and I know that everyone lives by that same sacred principle. The people in this room do, I can tell you. I hate when I see complainers, you know, people that complain and they don't do anything about it. Like in many cases, the media, not all of the media. I must have something because we won in Atlanta. I think of it, we won every swing state. We won by millions of votes. We won the popular vote. We won there's a district vote that's very interesting. It's where the whole map looks red for Republican, by the way. But the whole map came out, I think it was 2,750 to 505. Think of that. That's broken into little districts, little areas. We had an unbelievable election, and so I don't know, somebody said, yeah, how do you win without the press? But we have a hidden press, and the real hidden press and the hidden vote is the people and the word of mouth. Word of mouth is more important than the press, and they see what we do and they see how we do it. I want to thank all of you and your great communities, and it's a blessing to our country that you're here, and a blessing to our country that you become so successful and so great. And people look up to you, have no idea. You don't know. We take things for granted. You don't know. The people in this room are amazing. I even, looking at that list, I really said, that's something great. And you're all believers. I think, Paula, you wouldn't have invited people that not allowed. Is there an atheist in the room? Any atheists? I don't think so. I wouldn't want to raise my hand if I were. I'd be in big trouble. No, you invited all people that are outstanding in faith and success. And it's a very noble group, but it's because of the patriotism and goodwill of citizens like you that America remains strong and faithful and free. And together we're going to continue the fight for Judeo-Christian values of our founding fathers. We'll grow our economy, we'll defend our sovereignty, we'll protect our children. When you look at the job we did, I was just thinking because President Putin said it to me and other leaders said it to me, when they looked at those B-2s go in, and think of it, they flew for 37 hours straight. We had 52 tankers, the gasoline tankers, and they rode along with them at different aspects, and they refueled, and not a screw was broken, not a mark was on those planes. Every engine was perfect. When they landed, they were just as good as when they took off. Think of that, 37 hours and about 40 minutes through a very rough territory. And those machines worked incredibly well, and literally not a problem. And when I honored the flyers, we did it last week, I also honored the mechanics, the people that took care of those machines. And I said it's equally important. And you compare that same country, you compare that with what happened with Jimmy Carter. It was a sad situation. The helicopters were coming down and they were crashing, and the men were all over the place trying to get the hell out of there. And it turned out to be a hostage situation and horrible thing. And probably it was one of the things that cost them the election, certainly. But when you think of that and you see this was, in terms of perfection, they think it was a perfect military. We sent the planes to Guam. Everybody thought we were flying to Guam. And they said, oh, they're going to Guam. Well, Guam's out of the way. And at the same time, we had some others going a different direction. I watched horrible CNN. You have to watch sometimes your opposition, and they are opposition. And I saw that they had basically the plans of when we're going in, when we would be entering Iranian oil airspace. And I said, that's weird. And I called the general, Raisin Kane, he's fantastic. I said, General, and Pete Hegseth, I said, I'm watching newscasts where they're saying what time you're taking off tomorrow and what time we're going to be entering the very dangerous airspace, the worst air space anywhere there is, anywhere that in the world. I said, what do you think? Sir, we'll be fine. We blow them away, we'll be fine. Because they went those B-2s with 7, and we're surrounded by a lot of great planes. F-22 is the most beautiful plane ever built. The fighter jet, F-35s, had a lot of different planes going with them. I said, but wouldn't a surprise be better? Yeah, it would be better. I said, well, then let me cancel it, and let's make it at a different time. So the day before, I canceled it. And I said, I'm canceling it. We'll do it sometime within the next 2, maybe 3 weeks, but I'm canceling it. And then I had a meeting and I said, I have an idea, because I got slightly big coverage, to put it mildly. So everyone knew it was being canceled. I said, let's leave at the exact same time we were supposed to leave, the following day. And we took off, and that's when the planes went out to Guam and this and that, and we took off. And that was the only time, and they said it, that was the only time they knew we wouldn't be coming in, was the exact same time that I can. I said, let's do something. And they flew in, and they were stealth, incredible planes, they were stealth. And they hit every bomb, hit their mark. Every single bomb hit the mark. It was unbelievable how they did it. And then they said, skedaddle. Skedaddle means get the hell out of there. They had to get out of that airspace. But it was an amazing thing, and I think it was so great for our country in so many different ways. You see so many incompetent people, like the way we left Afghanistan with Milley and all these incompetent, stupid people. And Biden, it was him. Leave everything behind. Leave jets behind. I said to Billy, I said, so you mean to tell me, because I was going to leave. We would have left earlier than them, but we were going to leave with dignity and strength. I said to Billy, you mean you want to leave a jet fighter behind? Sure, it's cheaper if we do that. I said, wait a minute, give me a tank of gas and I'll fly it to Pakistan, or I'll fly it to someplace, or I'll fly it back home. Why is it cheaper? Oh, it's just cheaper. That's when I realized the guy was grossly incompetent, okay? He's telling me it's cheaper to leave a plane than it is that the planes cost $150 million apiece. Let's leave it, sir. It's just great. And they did. They left all, I was taking everything, but they left it behind. But when you look at what happened and compare that to what we have now, we have a real great machine. I rebuilt the military in my first term, and we left some of it to Afghanistan and the Taliban, and they have their parades. I hate those parades. Every year they have a parade wheeling down our equipment on some very unattractive street. That's, their Fifth Avenue. They show our equipment going down. It's getting older and older, but I hate to see it. But we're going to be working together to protect our children, and with the grace of God and blessing of providence, we will lead our country to heights that it's never seen before. I think we're going to be more successful in many ways, but I think we're going to be more successful than we've ever been. And I do think this, if we didn't catch it, if we would have lost this election, our country was finished. I think we were run by incompetent people. We were run by an auto pen and nobody knows who used it. I think it's one of the biggest scandals in the history of our country. We were run by an auto pen. Nobody has any idea who used it, including Biden. He doesn't know. Saw that interview yesterday. He knew nothing. So it's a very terrible, against an evil group of people, and they're very smart, very smart. He's not, but they are. They took over the Oval Office. They actually took over the Oval Office. We could never let a thing like that happen again. So, Paul, I want to thank you very much, and I want to thank Jenny, and most importantly, I want to thank the people in this room. You really are incredible people, an inspiration to our country. And I know you don't know that. You don't think it because you're too busy working. But you are. You're a great inspiration to young people that want to be just like you when they grow up. And thank you very much for being here. And it's a great honor. And Paul, I think you're going to say a prayer. I'll stay with you while you say your prayer, okay? Yeah, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Preston. You guys may be seated for just a moment. And he is our greatest champion of faith of any president that the United States of America has ever had. We are deeply grateful for that. We are very honored that you are all here with us at the White House, and where faith is not sidelined, but has a seat at the table. And as we gather today as leaders of industry, of vision, of faith, I believe that today is going to be very enlightened, and I'm so overwhelmed. We're getting ready to worship and pray, and to just think that prayer, worship, and doing good works is welcome back into the White House. President Trump is a historic and a bold move established the White House Faith Office to recognize some simple truths, that America is strongest when faith is engaged and not silenced, when believers are activated and they are not isolated. This administration understands that people who are of faith, who are entrusted with wealth and influence as you are essential to building a stronger, freer, and a more compassionate nation. You're more than just CEOs and business leaders and entrepreneurs. You're stewards on divine assignment, builders of legacy, and vessels of impact. You've been called by God to his kingdom for such a time as this. And together we are witnessing something absolutely remarkable. More has been accomplished by this administration in the past 5 months than in the last several decades. And that is due to the leadership of President Trump, his administration, and the great team he has assembled. America's spiritual and moral foundations have been restored, and it's only the beginning. Today's not just a luncheon. It is a moment of divine alignment, a commissioning. And we believe that God is raising up business leaders who don't separate faith from enterprise, but who see their platforms and their pulpits as their businesses and instruments for eternal impact. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you with great reverence and expectation. Your word declares in Isaiah chapter 43, verse 19, "Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it?" Lord, we do perceive it. We see the stirring of your hands, reviving hearts, reforming systems, raising up leaders at this very hour. We thank you for our great president, President Trump, for his life, his courage, his clarity, and unwavering defense of faith and freedom. May your wisdom guide him and your protection always surround him according to your word that does not return void. In Psalm 89:21, that you say, "My hand will sustain him, and surely my arm will strengthen him." We bless every person in this room, those who've entrusted this wealth, strategy, and vision to, according to 1 Timothy 6. That you tell us, do not put our hope in riches, but be rich in good works, generous and ready to share. So they are your Josephs in Egypt, the wise stewards in famine. They are your Daniels in Babylon, the uncompromising voice, and your Lydia in Philippi, the ones who expanded the kingdom. Let this be more than a meeting. Let it be a movement where we come together and converge to bless communities, care for others, and reach nations, empowered by your purpose and your grace. Unite us with the common cause to use our time and talent. For thy kingdom come, thy will be done in the earth as it is in heaven. In the mighty matchless name of Jesus, we pray these things and come in agreement. Bless this food and bless everyone. And everybody said, amen. And by the way, it is Secretary Howard Lutnick's birthday, so I'll wish him a very happy birthday. We are so grateful for your time, President, and my husband John's going to worship. At any time that you have to go, we know that you have spent more than enough time, and you are running the country exceptionally for us, and we are all so grateful. So he will stay as long as possible, but will you let President know how much we love and appreciate him?
Think the dentist is all drills and dread? Think again. At Western Dental, we've been calming nerves and creating smiles for over 100 years with care that's affordable for every budget. For those who make wellness a priority, we're here to help you stay on track with quality care right here in your community. And when life brings an unexpected dental emergency, we're available with fast, compassionate care that fits your budget. From routine checkups to life's little surprises, Western Dental, your home for affordable, family-focused dental care.
My friend introduced me to this Comfort Cargo pants, and oh my god, I'm obsessed. Specially made by a 53-year-old designer. I love them so much, I even bought 3 more. 5 times flexible stretch, upgraded ventilation, elastic soft waistband, 6 practical pockets so you can count on these pants when going out. These pants can last for years, wrinkle resistant, and water repellent. These cargo pants can really make us look 10 years younger. Available in 7 colors, multiple sizes, and 3 length options, guaranteeing a perfect fit for everyone. Get them now while they are on discount. Limited timed offer.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That's a good-looking group behind me. This group isn't too bad either. Very nice. Nice to be with you. Beautiful, right? Beautiful. Thank you very much. And thank you all for being here to support one of the most important pieces of legislation in the history of our country. And that's everybody saying that, virtually everybody. The one big, beautiful bill to secure our borders, turbocharge our economy, and bring back the American dream. That's what's happening too. It's met with tremendous approval and reception. And when we were thinking about doing it, we were going to break it down into 3, 4, 5, 6, or even 7 bills. And I said, let's make it one big, beautiful bill, Mike, right? They actually said it would be very much harder to get this way, but it would be better. And the truth is, I think it worked out well because there's something for everybody. And I think in many ways, much better. We're delighted to be joined by Secretaries Marco Rubio, Scott Bessent, Pete Hegseth, Doug Burgum, Doug Collins, Sean Duffy, Howard Lutnick, Linda McMahon, Brooke Rollins, Scott Turner, Chris Wright. Wow, that's a hell of a group. I think that's the biggest group of cabinet members. That's the biggest group of cabinet, and we're not finished yet because we have our great Attorney General Pam Bondi here. U.S. Trade Representative, and he's working around 24 hours. We have from one after another countries come. Everybody wants to be with us because we have the hottest country in the world. A year ago, we had a disaster on our hand. We had the coldest country, I think, by far. And now we have the hottest. The King of Saudi Arabia, when I was there, we brought back 5.1 trillion between Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and UAE. And all three said, great leaders, they all said to me the same thing. You know, it's amazing. In 4 months at that time, now it's getting to be close to 6. But in 4 months, they said, you have the hottest country anywhere in the world. It's not even close. And they thought we were dead a year before that. They said, I thought you were dead. The country was dead. And it was pretty close to it. But we have the hottest country in the world, so it's great. And Trade Representative Jamieson Greer is very busy because, where are you, Jamieson? Everybody wants to make a deal and have a part of it, right? I know you and Howard and Scott are working overtime, making deals with other countries. You remember a few months ago, the press was saying, do you really have anybody of any interest? Well, we just signed with China yesterday, right? Just signed with China. We have everybody. We're not going to make deals with everybody. Some we're just going to send them a letter, say, thank you very much. You're going to pay 25, 35, 45%. That's the easy way to do it. My people don't want to do it that way. They want to do some of it, but they want to make more deals than I would do. But we're having some great deals. We have one coming up, maybe with India, very big one. We're going to open up India. In the China deal, we're starting to open up China, things that never really could have happened. And the relationship with every country has been very good. And we also have OMB Director, who's very busy also, Russ Vogt. Thank you. Thank you, Russ. And also, I want to give a very special thank you. This is a hell of a group we have here. This is amazing, the quality of people, but actually I like these people and most of those people much better than the people I just named, okay? But a very special thanks as well to Speaker Mike Johnson, who's a great, legendary guy. He's going to go down as a legend. A great friend of mine, a fantastic Senator, Roger Marshall, wherever you may be. Roger, thank you very much. Thank you. Bernie Moreno, great win Bernie had in Ohio. Bernie, great win. That was a tough race. They said that was not winnable, and he won by about 5 points, so that was pretty good. So much for not winnable. Mike Lee is here. Mike, hi, Mike. Thank you, Mike. Tim Sheehy, another tremendous win. Way to go, Tim. Young, handsome. That was another race that wasn't supposed to be able to be won. He said, well, we have a very young, handsome guy. I said, does that matter? Looks don't matter, do they, Mike? Looks. Anyway, great job. You can't help it. You can't help it. Great. That was a great race, along with Representatives Paul Gosar, Greg Murphy, Tom Kane, Jen Kiggins, Rob Bresnahan, who's where is Rob? Stand up, Rob. Let me see you. Good. He's done a fantastic job. And Ryan McKenzie. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you all. That's great. A big group of people. We're here this afternoon to share the stories of an incredible group of patriots from across the nation whose future we are defending with the one big, beautiful bill. This is the ultimate codification of our agenda to, very simply, a phrase that's been used pretty well by me over the last 10 years, but maybe even before that, make America great again. Very simple, make America great again. When Joe Biden used to get up and say, we will stop this horrible MAGA, we're gonna stop MAGA, we're gonna fight it, I said, Joe, loosen up, it's called Make America Great Again, it's okay. You remember that he got up so angry, he was so angry, he said, make America great again. But we will deliver a record tax cut, a record spending cut, a record investment in border security. We've done so well on the border. You know, last month, we had 0 people that crossed the border. 0. So Christy and Tom Homan and some of the people, what a job you've done. But you know, people forget about that. They don't care. The border's been fixed. I wanted to talk about the border 2 days ago at a big group. Sir, I don't want to hear about the border. Why? It's fixed. You know, it's the second time it happened to me. In 2016, I won on the border. I fixed it in about 3 months. It was beautiful. And they wouldn't let me talk about the border. Sir, nobody wants to hear about the border. But we're going to talk about it anyway, right, Tom Allman? We're talking about it anyway. So we have a big number of dollars that's coming here because we want to keep it that way, and we want to keep it fixed. And a record number of deportations. We're bringing criminals out by the thousands. Nobody can even imagine. They let people in that were murderers. 11,888 murderers, gang members, people from mental institutions, and insane asylum. You know what that is? That's insane asylum. That's a mental institution on steroids. And during the campaign, I talk about the late, great Hannibal Lecter. Do you know who that is, Hannibal Lecter? Silence of the Lambs, I talk about it in the fake news, we go crazy. Why does he keep mentioning? Well, because we wanted a landslide, that's why. They don't want to have Hannibal in our midst. And today I signed this bill into law. Almost every major promise made in the 2024 campaign already will have become a promise kept. And that's very important. Promises made, promises kept. And according to the Council of Economic Advisors, these reforms will protect or create more than 7 million jobs, add 3.1% to economic growth, reduce taxes for the typical American by nearly 15%, and increase take-home pay for the normal family of 4 by at least $13,000, and that takes place immediately. That's not bad, right? Look, I'm looking at that guy back there, right? It's pretty good. And if we had a person over at the Fed that would lower interest rates a little bit, that would be helpful too. It's hard to believe this is on top of, you know, we have to fight this guy. He's not doing the job. Each point that he keeps it up is the equivalent of $300 billion. $300 billion. So if he lowered it to, it would save $600 billion. We have to work hard with cuts on that, right? That's a lot of cutting. And this guy could do it so easily. We don't have inflation. Well, we might have inflation. Yeah, and if you do, you raise the rate a little bit. That's okay. But we're going out because Biden gave us a lot of short-term debt. And given the short-term debt, he did us no favor. So I think what we'll do is we'll probably just extend the short-term debt and then go up, because I don't want to tie it up for 10 or 15 years at a high rate. But every point is it's really more, is 300 billion. So if we got it down to 1%, we're talking about almost $1 trillion in saving just with the stroke of a pen. No work, no missing anything, just like an accounting situation. Oh, Doug Collins, I just see Doug. Did I mention you, Doug? I don't think so, but I'm glad I saw you. I'm glad that somebody's gonna be in big trouble with you. They didn't write your name down, Doug. Somebody's in big, somebody's in, I got you. So we think of that though, we save, and all you have to do is so simple. I'm explaining to this guy, and Biden extended him, that wasn't good. I'm explaining to him, you can do so much for our country. You can save $1 trillion just with a stroke of a pen. Just the utterance of a sentence that we're gonna be cutting. It's a shame, it's a shame. We're one of the highest. We should be the lowest. You know, with the United States of America, we'd have money coming in like at levels that they have never seen. I got a call the other day from the people in Congress because we're doing our bill. I didn't even tell you this, Mike, and they called. They said, there's something wrong with the numbers, sir. I said, what's wrong? I don't know. They're not balancing out. There's something really wrong. I said, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, we don't know. I said, what's the problem? We're taking in much more money than we have scheduled. I said, so far that sounds good. They said, how much is it? About $80 billion. I said, do me a favor, check the tariff line. They called me back an hour later. Sir, we've taken in $88 billion in tariffs. Isn't that a beautiful thing? 88 billion. I thought I'd tell these little stories. Go off script and tell these little stories, Scott, right? Because it does make it a little more interesting. Although my speechwriters have just gotten every award in the book. Vince, where are you, Vince? Where are we? Where's Ross? He's gotten all these awards and I'm going off the record all the time. Where is he? He didn't show up to the speech. He wrote the speech. He didn't show. Well, that means he has confidence in me. According to the Council of Economic Advisors, these reforms will protect or create more than 7 million jobs, add 3.1% to economic growth, reduce taxes for the typical American by nearly 15%, and increase take-home pay for a normal family by an incredible $13,000. All of these things are happening. And by the way, there's no inflation. All of the numbers I gave you, all of the money that's coming in, and maybe more importantly than the billions of dollars we're taking in with tariffs, is the fact that we've got hundreds of plants going up all over the United States that never would have been here. I was with Howard and Scott and Texas Instruments the other day, and the head of Texas Instruments, they're going to spend $60 billion in the United States. And he said, sir, please don't do it to me. And I looked at him, I knew exactly what he meant. He said, you mean tariffs, right? He said, that's right. If you ever get rid of those tariffs, you've cost me a fortune. They're all coming in because they don't want to pay the tariffs, and they're coming in at levels, and it only works for the United States because it doesn't work for other countries, but it works for us. We have a record investment, we have records and everything, and when these places open up, that's bigger than the $15 trillion that I'm talking about. You know, you don't see it right away, but bigger is the fact that they're all coming in, they're building their factories, the AI factories and the auto plants. We have auto plants that are closing up in other countries. I don't want to specifically name the countries, but you know who they are. And they're coming into the US and they're opening up and building like nobody's ever seen anything like it. I don't call it a miracle. I call it, if this should have been done 40 years ago, we would have never lost our auto. We lost 50% of our auto industry to China, Mexico, Canada, and various other countries. Should have never happened if you had a president that said, we're going to charge you tariffs. You're not going to build next to us. Send it in and take away our jobs. If you would have said 25, 50, or 100% tariff, not one company would have left. But they weren't business people. They were politicians, not very good ones, and some good ones, but some really not good at anything, to be honest with you. We're going to stop the largest tax hike, and we're going to do that in history. This would be, if the bill doesn't pass, there'll be a 68% tax increase. Think of that, 68%, which would be the largest in history by about 40 points. And we'll make the Trump tax cuts permanent, expand the child tax credit, And we will deliver no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors. Among the countless citizens who will benefit from these tax cuts is Malachi Krzyzewski, a devoted mom and DoorDash driver from Ripon, Wisconsin, who uses her tip income to support her son. Just think of that, no tax on tips, and it was a very big problem. I was at a dinner in my beautiful building in Las Vegas, and unrelated to this, and I said, what's going on? I will never say good-looking waitress because looks don't matter anymore, you know, in our modern society. She happened to be beautiful, but I won't say that. I won't mention that, but nevertheless, a waitress came over, and I said, how are you doing? She said, not good, sir. Why? The government is killing me on tips. And she looked at me, she said, sir, there should be no tax on tips. I said, say it again. There should be no tax on tips. I said, that's the coolest thing I've ever heard. I walked outside, the press was there, as always, waiting for something bad to happen, hundreds of them. I said, ladies and gentlemen, please announce tonight there will be no tax on tips. And a legend was made. We won Nevada by so much. Republicans don't win Nevada, we won Nevada. So I want to thank that young, beautiful waitress. Thank you very much. But with no tax on tips and other cuts, this bill will save Malachi thousands of dollars per year, enabling her to achieve her goal of visiting every U.S. state with her son. She wants to visit every state by the time he's 18 years old. So, Malachi, it sounds to me like you're off to a fantastic start. And where are you, Malachi? Where are you? Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Also with us today is Luke Wilson, a 23-year-old electrical lineman. He loves being an electrician, but in this case, the lineman. And these are guys that take big risks, and it's hard stuff. But if you know what you're doing, it's fine. He's from Harmony, Pennsylvania, as well as Dee Sova, a truck driver from Springfield, Missouri, where, by the way, our beautiful planes landed, our B-2s. They landed after 36 hours of flying. Great going, Pete. And they hit the target. And they hit the target, and the target has now been proven to be obliterated, just as we said. We had little fake news from CNN. Thank you very much, CNN, for that. With 3 million miles of driving under her belt, who mentors other women in her industry. And I just want to say, Luke and Dee spend countless hours working overtime to help make this country run. And this bill, the typical overtime worker like them will take home nearly $1,500 extra every single year. So you're talking about at least $1,500, and there will be no harassment because you were being harassed by the Democrats. So Luke and Dee, congratulations to you both. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you very much. Also with us is James Benson, a third-generation auto worker from Belleville, Michigan, who has spent 26 years at Ford Motor Company, which is doing very well. They have a lot of plants in this country. If you have plants in this country, you're going to make a lot of money. And is a member of a tremendous group of people, auto workers. And I'll tell you, we love these people. Auto workers for Trump, and I came through for them, but they were with me long before I really thought. A lot of people said, is he going to run again? Will he run? They've always been with me, the auto workers. James was a lifelong Democrat until 2017, when he saw the benefits of our tax law, and he also liked Trump. Now, sometimes they can like the law, but if they don't like the candidate, it's not going to matter, right? Is that right, Marco? Marco knows, because he has been one hell of a great Secretary of State, right? Stand up, Marco. Everybody respects Marco, right? Everybody respects him. Now we're delivering an even bigger win for the auto workers by making interest on car payments fully tax deductible. You know, that's something only rich people seem to have gotten. I said, you know, and that was my idea. It's pretty simple. But I said, you know, the rich people, they're always looking for deductions. We want deductions. Linda, did I say, will you please stand up? Linda McMahon. So great. How much is Harvard going to be charged? How much are you asking for Harvard? Because they really have violated a lot of different caveats, haven't they? Huh? A lot, like a lot. They've been given $5 billion over the years. Can you imagine? And that's over a short number of years. That's just the beginning. They have $52 billion sitting in the bank, and they haven't been nice to our country. So I want to thank Linda McMahon, who's been really fantastic. But I said, on interest, I said, why couldn't we, if a car is made in the United States only, because otherwise we don't care if it's made someplace else, give the people that buy the car a deduction on the interest that they're paying to buy the car. And people said, what a great idea. It's so simple. It's like the paperclip. Somebody came up with the idea of a paperclip many years ago, 1817. And he became a very rich person. And everybody looked at it and said, why the hell didn't I think of that? But it's like the paperclip, but only if the car is made in America. Remember that, James. We're going to keep those Michigan auto factories roaring. And as you know, we won Michigan by a lot, Susie, right? We won Michigan by a big margin, and something that typically is not easy, but I think we won it. I actually think we won it 3 times in a row. So it's been a great state, but a big factor with the auto workers. They went with us very big, and I love them. The One Big Beautiful Bill will also be an incredible victory for American farmers, another group that we did great with, especially family farmers like James Cullifer of Virginia Beach. Our bill will provide 100% expensing so they can buy a new farm equipment. And by the way, the expensing is good for everybody, not just farmers. And it'll virtually eliminate the so-called estate tax or the death tax. So you have a farm, you leave it to your children. If you like the children, you leave it. If you don't worry about the people. No, some people don't want to leave them. They don't like their kids, you know? Anybody in here not liking their children, farmers? But if you like your kids, you want to leave it. And a lot of times what was happening before I got there, because I put this in the first tax bill, as you know, but people would die, they'd leave their farm. There was no cash, but there was value to the farm, sometimes good value. It's called real estate rich and cash poor. And the kids had no money, and they'd be foreclosed out by a bank. They'd borrow money to pay the estate tax. You don't have to pay estate tax anymore. That's pretty big stuff. So for the farmers and for others in small business, it's great. But James's family has been working the land for generations, and with this bill, we will ensure that family farms like his can stay in the family for many generations to come. Where's James? Yeah, where's James? That's good. And you know what I mean, James, right? People pass away, they love their kids or whoever they're leaving, but they love their kids especially. And you won't have the family farmer anymore for a long time because they were losing them to the banks, and they were losing them at record numbers. Not going to happen anymore. There's no tax. We're also going to empower American parents by expanding opportunity scholarships to provide school choice. School choice is a big deal. And we just got school working with the governor of Texas, as you know, Greg Abbott. We just had it passed in Texas, and I know about that. Somebody said, yeah, that was a big deal. They've been trying to get it for 9 years, and they asked me if I'd call the legislature, Republicans in the legislature, and I did. And I gave them a pep talk, and everybody voted for it. First time, they were shocked, but they never asked me to call them before. This was the first time, and they got it passed, right, Susie? It was amazing. And it was something that Dan and Greg and everybody, they really wanted it. And Ted Cruz wanted it badly. They all wanted it. So we got it in Texas, but you're going to have it. More and more people are talking about school choice. Good thing. This will be the godsend for mothers like Angelina Banks from Philadelphia. Where's Angelina? Where's Angelina? Oh, you are very pretty. She went out for a second and she's coming back. Okay? Where's Ange? Come on over here, Angelina. Oh, that's terrible. Oh, wow. How are you? I won't ask you where you've been, okay? I promise. But it's great to have you. It's great to have. I mentioned your name. I said, "Where's Angelina?" He said, "She'll be right back, sir." Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And Aubrey and Ava, Jane, Angelina says the tax relief for childcare and education are a foundation for stability and dignity. I think those were your words, right? Stability and dignity. Good words for her family. And with the One Big Beautiful Bill, we're delivering both, empowering hundreds of thousands of families to choose the public, private, charter, religious school or the home school of their choice. And Angelina, thank you very much for being with us. Beautiful. Beautiful. So this bill will also be the single most important piece of border legislation ever to cross the floor of Congress. We will hire 3,000 new Border Patrol officers and 10,000 new ICE agents. And these people are great. I tell you what, I got to know a lot of them. And we have tremendous representation. They've been for me from day one. In fact, I shouldn't say this, but they endorsed me when I first ran, almost at the beginning. And they weren't sure if they were allowed to endorse me. And they said, "We don't care, we're endorsing you." But they were great, and they've been my friends ever since. But think of it, so we're gonna hire 3,000 new Border Patrol officers, 10,000 new ICE agents. And you know, these ICE guys, they go into war zones, and they're tough, and they love our country. And if you're not gonna be tough, you're not gonna do well. But they are tough, and they'll break into a pack, and they call them a pack. Some of these packs come out of the jails of Venezuela. They come from places that you don't want to know about. They're gang members that have been all sent in here through Biden's open door stupid policy. And the dumbest policy, I think, well, we have a lot of dumb policies, but the worst, I think, is open borders, where anybody comes into our country totally unvetted, totally unchecked. And they're drug dealers, and they're people that we don't want them. And they're murderers, you know, they're murderers. I told you, over 11,000 murderers. They're in here. 50% of those, by the way, murdered more than one person. And they came in, no checking, no anything. It's so sad what that man has done to this country. We should never forget it, okay? We should never, ever forget it. But that whole group of people, I don't even think it was him. He didn't believe in open borders. He didn't believe in men playing in women's sports or transgender for everybody. But what that group of people has done to this country will never, ever, I don't think we can ever allow history to forget it. What they've done to us is so sad. We're going to fully fund the final sections of border wall, impose a new remittance tax on money sent back to foreign countries, and dramatically increase deportations to a bare minimum of 1 million illegal aliens per year. And what we're doing is we're really going after the criminal aliens, of which we have plenty to work with. People say, well, that's a lot, isn't it? Well, remember, these countries are very smart. They're headed up by people I know. In almost all cases, they're very smart people, and they're people of great common sense. They're not sending their good people out. They're sending the bad people out, and they put them into caravans. I think I came up with that name, but somebody did. It's a great name, a caravan. Thousands, or sometimes as many as 30,000 people walking right into our country. Again, last month we had none. Think of that. It's almost, people say it's almost impossible. But they come in, and at a minimum, they're not people that work very hard. They're people that are on welfare. They don't want them. They don't want them. They give them to us. It's incredible what's happened, and it's so sad to see. It's so sad. It could make you just sick to your stomach when you think about it. I was going to say it could make you cry, but I like to pretend I never cry. I don't want to be a crier, but it makes you sick to think of what they did. What they did to us is just sick. And guys, if we didn't have a Tom Homan, and if we didn't have some of the guys that we have working so hard and dangerously, the country wouldn't stand a chance. But we're getting them out, not as fast as they came in, because they came in and you'd see hundreds of thousands pour into our country in a day. But we're getting them out. And here today is Angel Dad Joe Abraham, the Angel Moms and Angel Dads. These are incredible people. They lost their precious 20-year-old daughter, Katie, in a hit and run after she was struck by an illegal alien from Guatemala. Katie was stopped at a traffic light, rear-ended, full force, going 60, 70 miles an hour right into the back of her car where she stopped. And she died immediately. And her killer, I think you could really say, the killer fled the scene. And Joe, we will end this invasion once and for all, and we're always going to remember the memory of Katie, that beautiful, beautiful 20-year-old daughter of yours. Where's Joe? Is she around here? Joe? Come here, Joe. Come here. Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. Thank you, Joe, very much. Also with us is Sarah Stewart from Kerrville, Texas, who lost her brother to the fentanyl epidemic that has inundated her small town. Our bill provides billions and billions of dollars to stop fentanyl and other illicit narcotics. We're also charging other countries like Mexico, Canada, and China billions of dollars in taxes that we put on because they've allowed people that are selling fentanyl to go through their countries, or in the case of China, they send it here, and paying a lot of money at least, but would rather stop it. They were doing a big job of that, but would rather stop it. And other illicit narcotics pouring across the border and stealing more American lives. And thank you, Sarah will not rest until that fight is done. We're gonna get that fight done. Sarah Stewart is where? Sarah? Hi, Sarah. Beautiful. Thank you. Good guy, huh? Yeah, I can see that. I also want to thank the president of the National Border Patrol. His name is Paul Perez. He's been with me from the beginning, and Brandon before him. These are great people. I've gotten very friendly with some of these people from Border Patrol and ICE because I'd call them once every 2 or 3 days. How we doing? How we doing? How we doing? If you remember, Kamala was the border czar, and in 4 years she never made one call to Paul or Brandon or anybody else. And I'd like to have Paul come up, say a couple of words if you're here, Paul. Where are you, Paul? Oh, there you are.
President Trump made promises that he's kept. Now it's time for Congress to back him up. We need to end the chaotic and recklessness that Biden allowed into this country. The millions of people that are out there, we're going to get with this big, beautiful bill. We've got the funding, we've got the technology, we need everything in that bill to get it done so that no more families are victimized. And those that have victimized families, we can go get them out with ICE. Our officers and agents are not afraid. We're ready to take this fight to them, and we've been so because of President Trump's leadership. Thank you, sir.
He's been a great friend of the country. He really has, and he's worked with Tom Holman and Christie and all the people that work so hard. They have been incredible. And I wasn't going to do this, but I see Tom Holman is sitting there, and I have to call him up. Look at that. I don't call up the Speaker of the House. I don't call up Marco or Peter or anyone. But I want to call this guy because this guy is keeping us very, very safe. Come on up.
Well, look, I think this issue of the big, beautiful bill should be nonpartisan. I don't know what the hell's the matter with everybody up in Congress? People are dying every day. ICE is arresting 3 times as many criminals than the Biden administration did. We're taking public safety threats and national security threats off the street every single day. We got over 600,000 illegal aliens with criminal histories walking the streets of this country. We got less than 5,000 deportation officers. This should be a no-brainer. The more resources we get, when we get this bill passed, we got more agents on the road. We buy more beds, we get more transportation flights. More agents mean more bad guys arrested, taken off the streets of this country every single day. Every day we arrest a public safety threat or national security threat, this makes this country much safer. Who the hell would be against that? And I get irritated, I get pissed off because I'm sick of meeting angel moms and dads. You want to talk about family separation? They buried their children. So I've done this since 1984. I've worked for 6 different presidents. No one has had the success of the Trump administration. We got the most secure border in the history of this nation today. But we need more border wall. Border walls save lives. Women and children can't get over that wall, which means they go to a place where there's not a wall. What's waiting on them? The men and women of border who take care of these humanitarian needs and save their lives. We already got fentanyl seizures down half. Fentanyl seizures should be 100%. We should have zero fentanyl coming to this country. We need money to help secure that border at a higher level. Stop the fentanyl from coming in. Stop the sex trafficking of women and children. Stop the known suspected terrorists coming across that border. Right now, I was looking at the stats today. ICE is arresting a record number of known suspected terrorists in this country along with the FBI. With more money, we can arrest more of these people, make this country safer. It's a nonpartisan issue. Let's make this country safe again. So to the Democrats and the Republicans and the Independents, I don't care who you're from, pass the bill so we make this country safe, so we can stop the violence against ICE officers. Let's make this country safe again. Without that bill, it's going to be a hard road. We got a lot of people to look for, a lot of people to arrest, a lot of national security threats we know are in this country. We need to find them. We need more money to do that. We need more agents to do that. For God's sake, let's pass this bill and get this done.
He got so angry, he didn't even shake my hand or look at me, just But he's right. He's right. And we have no money for the border if we don't pass this bill. We have virtually nothing. And so we're going to get it done for you, Tom, and for all of the people that have worked with you. It's been amazing the job you've done. And just in finishing, look, this is the largest tax cut in the history of our country. They want to give you, the Democrats want to give you the biggest tax increase in the history of our country. They have things, whether it's border or economic development or no tax on tips and Social Security and no tax on overtime and all these different things. There are hundreds of things here. It's so good. And we're going to also cut costs. We're cutting $1.7 trillion in this bill, and you're not going to feel any of it. And your Medicaid is left alone. It's left the same. Your Medicare and your Social Security are strengthened. We're not cutting. The Democrats are going to destroy all three of them because it's not sustainable. They'll end up cutting your Medicare and Medicaid in half. So we're going to do a real job. It's so important. So if you can, call your senators, call your congressmen. We have to get the vote. I want to thank you. You have been unbelievable, Mr. Speaker. You have worked round the clock for months. And, you know, I shouldn't say this, but we don't want to have grandstanders where one or two people raise their vote. We don't know. And they do it to grandstand. That's all. Not good people. They know who I am, who I'm talking about. I call them out. But we don't need grandstanders. We have to get our country back and bring it back strong. And our country's going to be stronger, bigger, better than ever before. We're going to make it better than ever before. And that's despite the bad hand that we were dealt 6 months ago. We were dealt a really bad hand. We were dealt a sick hand. It's unbelievable. You know, when I came back yesterday, as you know, I made a big trip to a place where we had 28 countries represented, and we did something that's never been done. They've raised the number of money, the amount of money that they've been to $1 trillion a year, and that's for world safety. But they all asked me the same question. They said, how could you allow this to happen to your country? I said, I didn't do it. But they said, how could you allow people to pour? And they don't understand it. They all have borders. They have fences, they have walls, or they have just strong people standing there. You can't do it. And they said to me, you know, it's amazing that they allowed these things to happen. And it's amazing, too. I agree. You know, as a business guy, I always like to understand where the other side's coming from. What do they want? What do they get? And, you know, you can make good deals based on understanding the other side. I never understood the other side in this case. Why would they allow people to pour into our country unchecked? You know, I can see people wanting people to come in, and you let them come in. You have a vetting process. You let good people. We're letting a lot of good people in, but they're coming in legally. But why would you allow people to come in that you can look at them and say, big trouble, big trouble? Why would you do it? It's nobody understands. And a lot of people say voting, but, you know, we're going to strengthen up our elections because the voting is crooked as hell. Got to strengthen it up. But it's not that. It's either they're stupid and they're not stupid, or they hate our country. but we love our country, and we're gonna stop this madness, and we're gonna get this bill approved, and all of the things that I've been talking about now for 2 years on the campaign trail, and we won, remember, we won every single swing state, we won by millions of votes. We won everything, we won every, it was a landslide, we won something that nobody talks about, districts. You have thousands of districts, we won 2,750 to 505. Think of that, that's why when you see a map, the whole map is red, that stands for Republican, by the way. Because it stands for a lot of other things too, but it stands for Republican with a little piece of blue on each side. But that's why, think of that, 2,750 districts to 505 districts. That's what, this was a slaughter, but it gave us a mandate to do some great things. And I want to thank John Thune, and I want to thank the speaker, and I want to thank Marco and everybody here, they have been so incredible. Pam, you've been unbelievable as the Attorney General. We appreciate it. Not easy, not easy. And we're coming back faster than anybody ever thought possible. I told you what they said to me on just trips by very smart people, but we're gonna make this, we're gonna do this very quickly. It's happening a lot faster than even I thought possible. And we're gonna be celebrating very quickly, and we're gonna be celebrating for a long time, because we're turning our country around, we're getting our country back, and we're ruling with common sense, you know? Whether you're conservative or liberal, or as they like to say, progressive. They don't like the word liberal anymore. Progressive, I think it's a beautiful word too. That's why I call them liberal. It's too nice a word. I don't know how you can be progressive when you're turning the country backwards. But no matter what you are, it's all about common sense. And I think that's the way I rule. I do what's right. I want to have borders. I don't want to have transgender for anybody that happens to leave the house at a young age, the things they do. I don't want to have men playing in women's sports. That's got to be a 97-3 issue. It's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. There was a long distance race the other day, or at least reasonably recently, and they had a top man and they had top women, but it was a woman's race, and the man entered. He happened to be transitioned. Isn't that lovely? And he entered the race, and he beat the champion woman by 5 hours and 14 seconds. 5 hours, that's a lot. Think of it, you're waiting 5 hours for your beautiful daughter to come in. Come on, baby, let's go. You can do it. He won by 5 hours and 14 seconds. It is crazy, and it's so demeaning, and they don't want to change. I see it the other day. Guys like Schumer, our great Palestinian senator, this guy, no, he's changed. He used to like Jewish people. Now he's totally against Jewish people. It's the most incredible transformation I think I've ever seen. But who would allow this to happen? In other sports, the same thing. Try the weightlifting numbers someday. You want to see some big differences. In a million years, the women will never catch these numbers. It's not going to happen. And it's very demeaning to women. And I don't like it when it's demeaning to women. So we're turning the country around fast. We love you all. Thank you very much. And good luck. Thank you.
President Trump wrapping up this big, beautiful event at the White House, touting the big, beautiful bill as it still needs to go through the Senate to get to his desk, this major reconciliation bill, this tax agenda, tax cuts. You also heard their funding for Border Patrol as he's shaking hands of these Americans behind him, as you can hear him slowly walking off. There's Marco Rubio in the front row as well, alongside Speaker Mike Johnson. Let's just listen in here briefly as he departs this room.
Mr. President, can Congress finish this by July 4th?
All right, you're just hearing there about that de facto deadline, saying, quote, "We hope so," that being trying to get it done by the 4th of July holiday, which is now almost exactly a week away. You also heard during that speech talking about the big, beautiful bill, but also talking about trade deals, as he said that he has completed one with China, and up next is India. course, we were following the latest with that trade deal with India. It hit, stalled out just a little bit, but we're also learning, and you heard there people shouting questions about what exactly involves this deal with China. You can see from Edward Lawrence here on social media saying President Trump said they signed with China yesterday. I'm trying to clarify what exactly was signed in terms of that trade deal. As we're also approaching the 4th of July deadline, we're approaching the end of those paused and reciprocal tariffs. So that a big question on a lot of people's minds heading into the month of July with the European Union. He was overseas. He met with different world leaders the last couple of weeks, including there at the NATO summit in the Netherlands, and then also last week in Canada at that G7 summit. So again, this is a live look inside of that room. The shot might go away here briefly, but we saw different members of the cabinet: Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson. House, of course, already passing that reconciliation bill. Also, some discrepancies and differences, the contrast between the House version and the Senate version will have to get ironed out before they line that up. All right, we're following it here on Live Now from Fox. President Trump talking about this big, beautiful bill, this reconciliation, the Trump tax agenda. We'll see what it has moving forward. Amanda Mack, let's line away for a quick break.
Yeah, eBay.
Okay, thank you very much. It's a honor, a great honor, to have a friend of mine who's become very friendly over the last number of years. We knew each other before, but Mark is head of NATO, Mark Rutte, Secretary General of NATO, highly respected by everybody that knows him, but in particular the European countries have great reliance on him, and he's done a fantastic job. And we had a tremendous meeting, I guess it's about a month ago, and I think Mark will tell you that it was really perhaps more important the date of November 5th. That was the election day. Maybe that was the most important, because we made tremendous progress together. And one of the reasons that you're here today is to hear that we are very unhappy, I am, with Russia, but we'll discuss that maybe a different day. But we're very, very unhappy with them, and we're going to be doing very severe tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. Tariffs at about 100%. They call them secondary tariffs. You know what that means. But today we're going to talk about something else. And as you know, we've spent $350 billion approximately on this war with Russia and Ukraine. I would like to see it end. It wasn't my war, it was Biden's war. It's not my war. I'm trying to get you out of it. And we want to see it end. And I'm disappointed in President Putin, because I thought we would have had a deal 2 months ago, but it doesn't seem to get there. So based on that, we're going to be doing secondary tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. It's very simple. And they'll be at 100%. And that's the way it is. It can be more simple. It's just the way it is. I hope we don't have to do it. But regardless, we are going to be we make the greatest military equipment in the world, whether it's missiles. You saw that recently in Iran, the way those planes flew in. They had every single 14 bombs at every target. Then you had the helicopters shoot a total of 30 bombs, 30 missiles, and they hit every single, Marco, is that right? Every single piece, every single target. And it was, I guess, on a scale of 0 to 10, they said it was about a 15. That's how successful it was. That's how lethal it was, a word they like to use nowadays. But it was an amazing, well-organized attack that people in this country wanted to do for 24 years. You know, when we had the pilots in last week, They were saying, sir, we've been practicing this for 24 years, meaning people, not them, but other people that are a little older now. But they too, and you were the one that let us do it. But we've been practicing it 3 to 4 times a year for 22, 24 years. Because they always knew they had to stop Iran from doing what they were doing, which is trying to come up with a nuclear weapon, a nuclear bomb. And we did it very successfully. And we make the best equipment, the best missiles, the best of everything. The European nations know that. And we made a deal today, I'm gonna have Mark speak about it, but we made a deal today where we are going to be sending them weapons and they're gonna be paying for them. The United States will not be having any payment made. We're not buying it, but we will manufacture it and they're gonna be paying for it. Our last meeting of a month ago was very successful in that they agreed to 5%, which is more than $1 trillion a year, so they have a lot of money. And these are wealthy nations. They have a lot of money and they want to do it. They feel very strongly about it. And we feel strongly about it too. We're in for a lot of money and we don't want to do it anymore. And we can. But we make the best and we're going to be sending the best to NATO and in some cases to maybe, at Mark's suggestion, if we go to Germany where they're going to send early on missiles and they'll be replaced and NATO is going to take care of it. It's going to be coordinated by NATO and they're going to work very much with Matt Whitaker, who's right here, who's a great ambassador, and Matt's going to be coordinating. You better do a good job, Matt.
I will.
But Matt's going to coordinate. He's a very talented guy. He's going to coordinate everything. So in a nutshell, we're going to make top-of-the-line weapons and they'll be sent to NATO. NATO may choose to have certain of them sent to other countries where we can get a little additional speed, where the country will release something and it'll be mostly in the form of a replacement. And I'd like to have Mark, and again, just a highly respected, pretty young guy, for having had the career that he's had, because he had an amazing career before going to NATO. So, and we spent a lot of time together over the last couple of months. And if you could say a few words.
Absolutely. No, Mr. President, this is really big. This is really big. You called me on Thursday that you have taken a decision. And the decision is that you want to bring what it needs to have to maintain, to be able to defend itself against Russia, but you want Europeans to pay for it, which is totally logical. And this is building on the tremendous success of the NATO summit. The 5%, but also the decision to keep Ukraine strong and the decision to increase our defense industrial production. So based on that, that was Europe stepping up. This is again Europeans stepping up. So I've been in contact with many countries. I can tell you that at this moment, Germany massively, but also Finland and Denmark and Sweden and Norway, the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, Canada, they all want to be part of this. And this is only the first wave. There will be more. So what we will do is work through the NATO systems to make sure that we know what Ukrainians need, so that we can make packages. Of course, in a way, we discussed it this morning with Pete Hegseth at the Pentagon, in a way that, of course, the US will keep on its stockpiles necessary to defend this country. That's absolutely clear. But it will mean that Ukraine can get its hands on really massive numbers of military equipment, both for air defense, but also missiles, ammunition, etc., etc. So if I was Vladimir Putin today, and hear you speaking about what you are planning to do in 50 days, and this announcement, I would reconsider whether I should not take negotiations about Ukraine more seriously than I was doing at the moment, if I was Vladimir Putin. But when I'm in Ukraine, I think this is really great news for that. So I really want to thank you for that. That means the Europeans paying for it. And again, I mentioned all these countries, we will deal with that. And exactly as you said, that might also mean that countries will move equipment fast into Ukraine and then the US later backfilling it because speed is of the essence. So really, thank you. This is important.
You did a great job. That's a really great job. We've been very successful in settling wars. You have India, Pakistan, you have Rwanda and the Congo that was going on for 30 years. India, by the way, and Pakistan would have been a nuclear war within another week, the way that was going. That was going very badly. We did that through trade. I said, we're not going to talk to you about trade unless you get this thing settled, and they did. They were both great leaders, and they were great, but Rwanda and the Congo, that was going on for 30 years, and at least 7 million people killed with a lot of pretty rough weapons like machetes, heads chopped off, going on for many years. You couldn't even get near the countries. Nobody wanted to get near it, so frightening. And we got that one solved. Serbia, Kosovo, got that solved. That was going to be one that was going to happen. And again, that was something I use trade for a lot of things, but it's great for settling wars. That was really very important. Marco's working very hard with everybody here on the Strip, the Gaza Strip. I call it the Gaza Strip, one of the worst real estate deals ever made. They gave up the oceanfront property, one of the worst deals ever made. But it was supposed to bring peace, and it didn't bring peace. It brought the opposite. But we're doing pretty well in Gaza. Steve Witkoff is here. I think we could have something fairly soon to talk about. And we solved another one. That we just seem to have, Armenia and Azerbaijan. It looks like that's going to come to a conclusion, successful conclusion. We worked on Egypt with a next door neighbor who, it's a good neighbor, they're friends of mine, but they happened to build a dam which closed up water going into a thing called the Nile. I think if I'm Egypt, I want to have water in the Nile. And we're working on that one. It's a problem, but it's going to get solved. We built one of the biggest dams in the world, a little bit outside of Egypt. You know about that, you've been hearing about that one. And that turned out to be a big problem. I don't know. I think the United States funded the dam. I don't know why they didn't solve the problem before they built the dam. But it's nice when the Nile River has water. And, it's a very important source of income and life. It's the life of Egypt. And to take that away is pretty incredible. But we think we're going to have that solved very quickly. So we do good. The only one we haven't been able to get to yet is Russia. I'm not happy. And I will tell you that Ukraine wants to do something. Again, it's a war that should have never started. If I were president, it never would have happened. I used to speak to President Putin about it a lot. It was the apple of his eye. But once I saw what was going on, I said, they're going to have a war here. I was outside, election was rigged. I was outside looking in, and I said, that thing's going to be a war. Couldn't believe it, because what Biden said was the exact opposite of what should have been said. And it started, and it's a real mess. We're losing, I guess they're losing 5,000 or 6,000 people a day. It's actually now more. I was saying 5,000, there's actually more now. Mostly soldiers, but a lot of people in cities and towns that are getting blown up to a horrible war, and it should be stopped. And so if it's not done, if we don't have an agreement in 50 days, that's what we're doing, secondary tariffs, and they're biting. And I hope we don't get to the point where we do, but I've been hearing so much talk. It's all talk.
Round up spare change into saving stocks of Bitcoin. Can you use your Cash App card?
Give me 17 cents on Bitcoin.
It's all talk, and then missiles go into Kiev and kill 60 people. It's got to stop. It's got to stop. But the purpose of this is to say that there's a very big deal we've made. This is billions of dollars worth of military equipment is going to be purchased from the United States, going to NATO, etc. And that's going to be quickly distributed to the battlefield. Ukraine will take it up. And say what you want about Ukraine. When the war started, they had no chance. And they still would have had no chance if the equipment they had the best equipment, because we do make the best planes and missiles, and we make the best military equipment in the world by far. We have new things coming out that are beyond belief, and I'm very excited about the Golden Dome. It's going to give us very strong protection. We've already started that, but they had courage, because somebody has to use that equipment. And they fought with tremendous courage, and they continue to fight with tremendous courage, but they don't have, they're losing on equipment, and Russia's really taken a very positive, very, very strong, I mean, what they've done the last couple of weeks.
Without military reasons, that's what they're doing. 700 drones a day, missiles, bombing cities. This is not because of military goals. It is just creating panic, keeping people out of their sleeps, hitting towns. It's really terrible, and it is meaning a lot of people lose their lives, but also the infrastructure, whole cities being.
They're wiping out the electric, it's gonna take years to rebuild it. That's gonna be the next problem, because, but that's gonna take a long time. Cities, many of the cities are knocked down to the ground, many of the people have left. But many have stayed, I don't know, they actually stayed, most have stayed actually. It's incredible that they stayed, knowing that a missile could be hitting your apartment house, and your apartment house that you're sitting in could collapse on top of you. And they do very heavy construction. They don't use rebar, they do very thick concrete construction. Those are heavy buildings, big buildings and heavy buildings, and they collapse like they're made out of paper. It's unbelievable to see this happening with people, so many people being killed. So we think we're gonna make progress, and we hope we're gonna make progress. In the meantime, we're gonna get you good service on what you need. And we really became friendly with NATO this last meeting. You know, we went from 2% to 5%, which everyone said was not even a possibility. They weren't paying 2%. Many of them were paying much less than 2%.
But even those, since you became president, all committed to the 2% before the summit, and now collectively they committed to the 5%.
That's right, they did, and they've been very good. And I think I made a lot of friends over there. We had a couple of days of very intensive talks, and they're great people. They're leaders of countries, many of them great countries, some of them smaller countries, but for the most part, that's some very solid, strong countries, and very successful. Some of them are among the most successful countries in the world. So that's the story. We hope that's going to have an impact on Vladimir Putin, and we hope it's going to have an impact on Ukraine also. We want to make sure that Ukraine does what they have to do. All of a sudden they may feel emboldened, or maybe they don't want. You know, this is a very difficult situation.
Ukraine wants a peace deal.
I think so.
And they will stay committed to that, there's no doubt. They want it.
Yeah.
But the Russians have to be
They have to continue to want it, though.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
You and I will make sure of that.
All of a sudden they get no.
You and I will make sure of that.
We'll make sure. I feel confident that they will do what has to be done. Plus, we have certain parameters that both sides know, and we already know what should be done. So I think that's going to be it's going to be very strong. We want everlasting peace. Any questions, friends? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. What was the tipping point for you in making this decision? Was it a conversation with President Putin? Was it a piece of intelligence? And why are you giving 50 more days?
I think it's a very short period of time. I think, don't forget, I've just really been involved in this for not very long. And it wasn't initial focus. This is a Biden war. This is a Democrat war, not a Republican or Trump war. This is a war that would have never happened. It shouldn't have happened. A lot of people being killed. When the final numbers come in, you're going to see a lot more people have been killed in this war than you think, than you've been writing about. It's a very deadly war. They're all bad, but this is a very deadly war. The numbers are going to be far greater. When an apartment house comes down, and they say 2 people were slightly injured. No, many people were killed, and those numbers will be at some point accurately reported. So far, they're not. It's a deadly war. I think that you're just going to see. I think you're going to see strong movement. I hope so. You know, the secondary tariffs are very, very powerful.
What about the tariffs that the Republicans in the House and the Senate have ready? Those were 500%. Why are you doing 100%?
Well, the Republicans are moving very strongly in the Senate, giving us total control of it, but I'm not sure we need it, but it's certainly good that they're doing it. And Lindsey Graham's working hard, the whole Rick Johnson, all of them, they're all working hard. And they're in coordination with Mike Johnson, Speaker in the House. And I think they've actually crafted a pretty good piece of legislation. It's probably going to pass very easily, and that includes Democrats. And there's some little tweaks, but I don't want to say I don't need it because I don't want them to waste their time. It could be very useful. We'll have to see. But we can do we can do secondary, we're probably talking about 100% or something like that. We can do secondary tariffs without the Senate, without the House, but what they're crafting also could be very good.
So are you suggesting then that the Congress should move forward with those sanctions, the 500%, and that your 100 would be a separate additional package?
Yeah, I mean, the 500 is, sort of meaningless after a while, because at a certain point, it doesn't matter. It's not gonna be, as 100 is gonna serve the same function. But, yeah, I have it at 100%. They may have it, I don't know what they're gonna end up with. They may have it at 100 too. They may have it at 500. But they're doing some good work in the House, and I think in the House and the Senate. And as you know, they're coordinated. And they can have it done quickly. They said they'll have it as quickly as I need it. So we'll see. We're talking to him. In fact, John Thune's coming over later on to talk. Yeah, he's gonna come over.
Thank you, Mr. President. Isn't your view that Vladimir Putin mischaracterized his dedication isn't your view that Vladimir Putin misguided, did not clarify his intention to a peace deal? And what happens now in the next phase? Is there?
We're gonna see, and then we're gonna have to go for a period of time. Maybe he'll start negotiating. And I think I felt, I don't know about you, Mark, but I felt that we had a deal about 4 times. And here we are, still talking about it.
And he didn't send serious people to the negotiations. So I remember that you were able, with Marco Rubio and with Steve Witkoff, to get his talks going in Istanbul. I remember I was myself in Turkey for NATO business in May, and we really put pressure on the Ukrainians to send a senior team to Istanbul, and they did. But then the Russians came up with this historian explaining history of Russia since 1250.
We thought, and I thought, we should have had a deal done a long time ago. But it just keeps going on and on and on. And every night people are dying. A lot of Russian soldiers are dying, by the way. And a lot of Ukrainian soldiers too. But a lot of Russian soldiers are dying.
100,000 Russian soldiers since 1st of January. Since January, 100,000 Russian soldiers dead since January. So if anybody in Moscow is listening to this, again, 100,000 dead Russians since January. This is what President Putin is doing at the moment.
Yeah, please.
Will these be Patriot missiles specifically, or Patriot batteries that you're planning? And when do you
It's everything. It's Patriots, it's all of them. It's a full complement with the batteries.
When do you expect them to arrive in Ukraine?
Well, we're gonna have some come very soon, within days, actually. Because a couple of the countries that have Patriots are gonna swap over and will replace the Patriots with the ones they have, and Matt will coordinate with NATO. But so it's gonna be, they're gonna start arriving very soon.
And this afternoon, Boris Pistorius, the German defense minister, is visiting Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, and we'll discuss also, I think, on this whole Patriot thing. Norway is involved, so that's on the Patriots. But this whole deal is also about missiles or ammunition, so it's broader than Patriots.
We have one country that has 17 Patriots getting ready to be shipped. They're not gonna need it to them. So we're gonna work a deal where the 17 will go, or a big portion of the 17 will go to the Warsaw.
Mr. President.
That could be done very quick.
Mr. President.
Could this transaction with NATO be viewed as a step towards achieving peace, letting Putin know that now Zelensky has a little bit more powerful tools in his tool chest, and maybe that brings him to the table to achieve peace? Because I know that you want to do that.
Brian, that's what we've been saying. I think you might have expressed it better if you wanted to.
Exactly. That's a summary.
It was a nice summary. I think he's done better than us. He's a very good guy, I can tell you that. But no, it's well said. Yeah, I think this is a chance in getting peace. Or it's just going to be the same thing. I have to tell you, Europe has a lot of spirit in this war. A lot of people, when I first got involved, I really didn't think they did, but they do. And I saw that a month ago, and you were there, most of you, many of you were there. The level of the Esprit de Corps spirit that they have is amazing. They really think it's a very, very important thing to do, or they wouldn't be doing it. Look, they're agreeing to, they're paying for everything. We're not paying anyone. We have an ocean separating us. I said, we have a problem. We make the best stuff. we can't keep doing this. And Biden should have done this years ago. He should have done it from the beginning, but he didn't. He didn't know he was there. This guy, what a horrible job they did to this country. And I just hope between the border and this and so many other inflation, what a horrible administration. The worst administration in history, in my opinion. It's not my opinion. I think it's everybody's opinion. But this is something that shouldn't have happened, and we're gonna see if we can end it. I do want to make one statement. Again, I've said it before. This is not Trump's war. We're here to try and get it finished and settled, whatever. Because nobody wins with this, and this is a loser from every standpoint. This was Biden, and this was other people. And it's very sad, it's a very sad situation. This gentleman's doing a great job. I think he's gonna get it, and Matt and everybody else that's working on it, I think he'll get this thing over with.
You praised European countries today as standing up for Ukraine as being strong. Will you allow them to continue to negotiate tariffs lower than 30% before August 1st, or is the deal set at this
What
point?
does that mean? You mean, you're talking about the tariffs?
trade,
Oh,
on tariffs.
you're back on tariffs. You're on a more friendly tariff, right? A little bit more friendly tariff. No, we're gonna be talking to people. We have, I watched the show this morning, they were talking about, well, when's he gonna make the deals? The deals are already made. The letters are the deals. The deals are made. There are no deals to make. They would like to do a different kind of a deal, and we're always open to talk. We are open to talk, including to Europe. In fact, they're coming over, they'd like to talk.
Mr. President, is there any concern about the U.S. stockpiles? There was a pause in delivery of weaponry to Ukraine.
I know.
I missed you.
Yeah.
Reba here, back to tell you about Realtor.com. With over 500,000 new listings monthly, you can find your dream home today. Well, isn't that cozy? So work with number one and make it real with Realtor.com.
In order to evaluate, apparently, the U.S. stockpiles. What came out of that?
Evaluation. I mean, this was a very big, what we're talking about today is a very, very big day. And what Pete was doing, and me too, I knew what Pete was doing, was evaluation, because we knew this was gonna happen. And now we actually announced it. They voted on it, it's all been done. So obviously that has a big impact on, when you say pause, obviously you're not gonna be doing things if you don't know what's gonna happen here. But we were pretty sure this was going to happen, so we did a little bit of a pause. But this is a very big event today. This is something
Mr.
very.
President, if Putin escalates further, how far are you willing to go in response?
In what?
How far are you willing to go if Putin were to escalate, send more bombs in the coming days?
Don't ask me a question like that. How far? I want to get the war settled. They're not Americans that are dying in it, and, I have a problem, and JD has a problem. It's a stance that he's had for a long time. They're not Americans dying, but there are a lot of people dying, and on something that should be able to be settled. And we all agree with that. This group of people, we want to defend our country, but, ultimately, having a strong Europe is a very good thing. It's a very good thing. So I'm okay with that. Yeah, please, is that?
Yeah, is there a ceiling on what the Europeans are willing to pay for? And it sounds like, well, are you ruling out the U.S. paying for some from additional weapons through drawdown authority?
Because basically what the president is saying, that he's willing, of course, taking consideration what the US needs itself. So it's not that you can have a shopping list, you can order whatever you want, because the US has to make sure that the US keeps its hand on what the US needs, also to keep the whole world safe. Because in the end, you are the police agent of the whole world. You're the most powerful nation on earth, the most powerful military on earth. But given that, the then you are really talking about big numbers. Take Germany visiting today, they're really talking about big numbers.
I will say that I spoke with Germany, spoke with most of the larger countries, and they are really enthusiastic about this. They want to, and they, they're willing to go very far. I will tell you, as for your question, how far would I go? They want to go very far. They don't want this to happen. That's why I think from Putin's standpoint, it would really be good. He gets the country's economy is doing very poorly, and he's got to get his economy back. He's got to save his economy. He could save his country in a sense, but the economy can be destroyed. He's destroyed a lot of countries over the years. He wants to get that economy back. And he's got a great country for trading. Another thing, if they could use the assets instead of war, he's got some tremendous potential. That's what I would say.
How did you tell Putin this was coming?
I speak to him a lot about getting this thing done. And I always hang up and say, well, that was a nice phone call. And then missiles are launched into Kiev or some other city. It's strange. And after that happens 3 or 4 times, you say, the talk doesn't mean anything. My conversations with him are always very pleasant. They say, isn't that good? Very lovely conversation. And then the missiles go off that night. I go home, I tell the First Lady, I spoke with Vladimir today. We had a wonderful conversation. She said, oh, really? Another city was just hit. So it's like, look, he's, I don't want to say he's an assassin, but he's a tough guy. It's been proven over the years. He's fooled a lot of people. He fooled Bush. He fooled a lot of people. He fooled Clinton, Bush, Obama, Biden. He didn't fool me. But what I do say is that at a certain point, ultimately talk doesn't talk. It's got to be action. It's got to be results. And I hope he does it. It's potentially such a great country to be wasting so many people on this and the money. And look at what's happened to his economy. Look at what's happened. So
And with the 350 days,
yeah,
we will be hit very hard.
I mean, look, I hope he's going to do it. He knows the deal. He knows what a fair deal is. If there is such a thing as a fair deal, there's no winners here. This is a loser. This is a loser. And I dealt with him from the beginning. It wouldn't have happened, but I will say Ukraine was the apple of his eye. We talk about it. It was the apple of his eye, but it wasn't going to happen. And he understood that. It wasn't going to happen. And then I noticed, after I was out, soldiers forming at the border. And then I heard horrible, stupid things being said from the other side. And I said, they're really handling it very, very wrong. It's a shame. Yeah.
Can I add one thing, and it is about President Trump, because this weekend office in January, I would zelfs very first phone call with Putin. I think you did exactly what I hoped you would do. That is breaking the deadlock, starting the conversation, because you have to test him. I know Putin very well from the days when I was Prime Minister in the Netherlands. You have to test him. And you did this. And you really gave him a chance to be serious, to get to the table, to start negotiations. Steve Witkoff, Marco Rubio, we all tried to help you. But you've now come to a point where you say, well, hey.
We actually thought we had probably 4 times a year. I mean, you would have called and said, this looks good. And then the deal wouldn't happen because bombs would be thrown out that night and you'd say, we're not making any deals. It was like...
But you breaking the deadlock was crucial because you had to start that process. You were the only one who was able to do that.
I think we'll get it done.
Do you think he's reasonable enough to negotiate an end to
We're
this?
going to get it done. I think, look, this is a very powerful situation. You have very wealthy countries buying the best equipment in the world. And we have the best equipment in the world. We make equipment like no other. Our submarines, nuclear submarines, are so powerful. They're the most powerful weapon ever built. And we have the best in the world they're 20 years behind, 25 years behind us. We have the greatest equipment anywhere in the world. I just hope we don't have to use it. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. On a separate topic here, President Biden, of all people, spoke to the New York Times over the weekend. He did not speak to them on the record during his time in office at all, but he spoke to them recently. And he defended his use of the auto pen and said that he signed off on every decision. But at the same time, the Times reports that he did not individually approve each name for the categorical pardons that apply to large numbers of people. What are your take on that? Any new revelations from that?
Well, I mean, you're talking about the auto pen. Look, the auto pen, I think, is maybe one of the biggest scandals that we've had in 50 to 100 years. This is a tremendous scandal. And I know the people on the other side of the, see that desk, that Resolute desk, unfortunately, he used it before me. But, you know, we have our choice of 7 desks. They're all beautiful. But I chose the Resolute, and so did he, unfortunately. But the people on the other side of the Resolute desk, I know them. Lisa, the whole group, and they're no good. They're sick people. And I guarantee he knew nothing about what he was signing. I guarantee it. So they're gonna figure it out, and we'll see what happens. But to me, the auto pen, you know, you elected president. You know what the auto pen is supposed to do? Sign thousands of letters from young people that write. We get thousands of letters a week, says you, right? Thousands. I mean, tens of thousands sometimes. I look at a room, there's a room where we have many, many people working, responding, sending letters back. That's what an auto pen's supposed to be. To write to a young 7-year-old boy that writes to the president that he wants to be president someday and he loves America. That's what the auto pen's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be for signing major legislation and all of the things. No, the auto pen, and I doubt he knew. I doubt they even spoke to him about it. I think they had, it's called the freewheeling auto pen. Like, Biden was never for open borders. Biden was never for transgender for everyone. So I don't think I think the radical left people that took over the White House. And if I didn't win, our country was finished. You know, when I was in, and I said this a couple of times, I hope I don't bore you with it, but when I was in Saudi Arabia, I was in Qatar, I was in UAE, and then I met with all of your leaders, including you, a great leader. He's now the leader of many countries, not just one. But I met with a lot of leaders over the last 2 months in the Middle East and all of the NATO countries. And I will tell you, they had one common phrase. They thought America was dead 1 year ago. And today they say, and they all say it, and I hope you'll back me up on this, but they say now it's the hottest country anywhere in the world. It is. Look at our numbers. Look at the numbers we made. You see, we made 25 billion last month. We didn't make that for years. The tariffs are kicking in. The economy is very strong. Even though we have a Fed person who's terrible, he doesn't know what the hell he's doing, but that's all right. We blow through interest rates. We're doing so well, we blow through it. Be nice because people would be able to buy housing a lot easier. But think of it. We thought your country was dead, and they were dealing with China because they were really going to China, but not anymore. But we thought your country was dead, and now you have the hottest country anywhere in the world. So we've done a really good job, and it's an honor to have this man. This man is a star, and he's going to be dealing with another one of my stars, Matt, and you're going to do a great job, Matt Whitaker. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. It's a honor, a great honor, to have a friend of mine who's become very friendly over the last number of years, we knew each other before, but Mark is the head of NATO, Mark Rutte, Secretary General of NATO, highly respected by everybody that knows him, but in particular the European countries. They have great reliance on him, and he's done a fantastic job. And we had a tremendous meeting, I guess it's about a month now, a month ago, and I think Mark will tell you that it was really perhaps more important the date of November 5th. That was the election day. Maybe that was the most important because we made tremendous progress together. And one of the reasons that you're here today is to hear that we are very unhappy, I am, with Russia. But we'll discuss that maybe a different day. But we're very, very unhappy with them, and we're going to be doing very severe tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. Tariffs at about 100%. You'd call them secondary tariffs. You know what that means. But today we're going to talk about something else. And as you know, we've spent $350 billion approximately on this war with Russia and Ukraine. I would like to see it end. It wasn't my war, it was Biden's war. It's not my war. I'm trying to get you out of it. And we want to see it end. And I'm disappointed in President Putin because I thought we would have had a deal 2 months ago, but it doesn't seem to get there. So based on that, we're going to be doing secondary tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. It's very simple. And they'll be at 100%. And that's the way it is. That can be more simple. It's just the way it is. I hope we don't have to do it. But regardless, we are going to be, we make the greatest military equipment in the world, whether it's missiles. You saw that recently in Iran, when those planes flew in, they had every single 14 bombs at every target. Then you had the helicopters shoot a total of 30 bombs, 30 missiles, and they hit every single, Mark does that right, every single piece, every single target. And it was, I guess on a scale of 0 to 10, they say it was about a 15. That's how successful it was. That's how lethal it was, a word they like to use nowadays. But it was an amazing, well-organized attack that people in this country wanted to do for 24 years. You know, when we had the pilots in last week, they were saying, "Sir, we've been practicing this for 24 years," meaning people, not them, but other people that are a little older now. But they too, and you were the one that let us do it. But we've been practicing it 3 to 4 times a year for 22, 24 years, because they always knew they had to stop Iran from doing what they were doing, which is trying to come up with a nuclear weapon, a nuclear bomb. And we did it very successfully. And we make the best equipment, the best missiles, the best of everything. The European nations know that. And we made a deal today, I'm going to have Mark speak about it, but we made a deal today where we're going to be sending them weapons and they're going to be paying for them. The United States will not be having any payment made. We're not buying it, but we will manufacture it and they're going to be paying for it. Our last meeting of a month ago was very successful in that they agreed to 5%, which is more than $1 trillion a year, so they have a lot of money. And these are wealthy nations. They have a lot of money and they want to do it. They feel very strongly about it. And we feel strongly about it too. We're in for a lot of money and we don't want to do it anymore. And we can. But we make the best, and we're going to be sending the best to NATO, and in some cases to maybe, at Mark's suggestion, if we go to Germany where they're going to send early on missiles, and they'll be replaced, and NATO's going to take care of it. It's going to be coordinated by NATO, and they're going to work very much with Matt Whitaker, right here is a great ambassador, and Matt's going to be coordinating. You better do a good job of that.
I will.
But Matt's going to coordinate. He's a very talented guy. He's going to coordinate everything. So in a nutshell, we're going to make top-of-the-line weapons, and they'll be sent to NATO. NATO may choose to have certain of them sent to other countries where we can get a little additional speed, where the country will release something and it'll be mostly in the form of a replacement. And I'd like to have Mark, and again, just a highly respected, pretty young guy, for having had the career that he's had. Because he had an amazing career before going to NATO. So and we spent a lot of time together over the last couple of months. And if you could say a few words.
Absolutely. And now, Mr. President, this is really big. This is really big. You called me on Thursday that you have taken a decision. And the decision is that you want Ukraine what it needs to have to maintain, to be able to defend itself against Russia, but you want Europeans to pay for it, which is totally logical. And this is building on the tremendous success of the NATO summit. The 5%, but also the decision to keep Ukraine strong and the decision to increase our defense industrial production. So based on that, that was Europe stepping up. This is again Europeans stepping up. So I've been in contact with many countries. I can tell you at this moment, Germany massively, but also Finland and Denmark and Sweden and Norway, we have Kingdom, the Netherlands, Canada. They all want to be part of this. And this is only the first wave. There will be more. So what we'll do is work through the NATO systems to make sure that we know what Ukrainians need, so that we can make packages. Of course, in a way, we discussed it this morning with Pete Hegseth at the Pentagon, in a way that, of course, the US will keep on its stockpiles necessary to defend this country. That's absolutely clear. But it will mean that Ukraine can get its hands on really massive numbers of military equipment, both for air defense, but also missiles, ammunition, etc., etc. So if I was Vladimir Putin today, and hear you speaking about what you are planning to do in 50 days, and this announcement, I would reconsider whether I should not take negotiations about Ukraine more seriously than I was doing at the moment, if I was Vladimir Putin. But when I'm Ukraine, I think this is really great news for them. So I really want to thank you for that. But it means Europeans paying for it. And again, I mentioned all these countries, we will deal with that. And exactly as you said, that might also mean that countries will move equipment fast into Ukraine, and then the US later backfilling it, because speed is of the essence here. So really, thank you. This is important.
You did a great job. That's a really great job. We've been very successful in settling wars. You have India, Pakistan, you have Rwanda and the Congo that was going on for 30 years. India, by the way, and Pakistan would have been a nuclear war within another week, the way that was going. That was going very badly. And we did that through trade. I said, we're not going to talk to you about trade unless you get this thing settled, and they did. They were both great leaders, and they were great, but Rwanda and the Congo, that was going on for 30 years, and at least 7 million people killed with a lot of pretty rough weapons like machetes, heads chopped off, going on for many years. You couldn't even get near the country. Nobody wanted to get near it, so frightening. And we got that one solved. Serbia, Kosovo, got that solved. That was going to be one that was going to happen. And again, that was something I used. I use trade for a lot of things, but it's great for settling wars. That was really very important. Marco is working very hard with everybody here on the Strip, the Gaza Strip. I call it the Gaza Strip, one of the worst real estate deals ever made. They gave up the oceanfront property, one of the worst deals ever made. But it was supposed to bring peace, and it didn't bring peace. It brought the opposite. But we're doing pretty well in Gaza. Steve Witkoff is here. I think we could have something fairly soon to talk about. And we solved another one, that we just seem to have, Armenia and Azerbaijan. It looks like that's going to come to a conclusion, successful conclusion. We worked on Egypt with a next door neighbor who, it's a good neighbor, they're friends of mine, but they happened to build a dam which closed up water going into a thing called the Nile. I think if I'm Egypt, I want to have water in the Nile, and we're working on that one. It's a problem, but it's going to get solved. They built one of the biggest dams in the world, a little bit outside of Egypt. You know about that, you've been hearing about that one. And that turned out to be a big problem. I don't know. I think the United States funded the dam. I don't know why they didn't solve the problem before they built the dam. But it's nice when the Nile River has water. And, it's a very important source of income in life. It's the life of Egypt. And to take that away is pretty incredible. But we think we're going to have that solved very quickly. So we do good. The only one we haven't been able to get to yet is Russia. I'm not happy, and I will tell you that Ukraine wants to do something. Again, it's a war that should have never started. If I were president, it never would have happened. I used to speak to President Putin about it a lot. It was the apple of his eye. But once I saw what was going on, I said, you know, they're gonna have a war here. I was outside, the election was rigged. I was outside looking in, and I said, yeah, that thing's gonna be a war. Couldn't believe it, because what Biden said was the exact opposite of what should have been said. And it started, and it's a real mess. We're losing, I guess they're losing 5,000 or 6,000 people a day. It's actually now more. I was saying 5,000 a day. It's actually more now. Mostly soldiers, but a lot of people in cities and towns that are getting blown up to a horrible war. And it should be stopped. And so if it's not done, if we don't have an agreement in 50 days, that's what we're doing, secondary tariffs. And they're biting. And I hope we don't get to the point where we do, but I've been hearing so much talk. It's all talk. It's all talk, and then missiles go into Kiev and kill 60 people. It's gotta stop. That's gotta stop. But the purpose of this is to say that there's a very big deal we've made. This is billions of dollars worth of military equipment is gonna be purchased from the United States, going to NATO, etc. And that's gonna be quickly distributed to.
We took our apartment back. I had nothing to do with it. Okay, it was my idea.
Neurofiber helps support a more balanced gut with 8 grams of fiber. Reach for a more balanced gut.
Premium finish, matching drawers. It's like my dream come true.
72 inches of pristine hardwood American walnut. Hey, Desky, higher.
Oh my god.
Desky.com.
We want this to be a refuge.
Rural First is exceptional in their flexibility. They understand the situation and the needs of people who are wanting to move to the country.
The battlefield, Ukraine will take it up. And you know, say what you want about Ukraine. When the war started, they had no chance, and they still would have had no chance if the equipment they had the best equipment, because we do make the best planes and missiles, and we make the best military equipment in the world by far. And we have new things coming out that are beyond belief, and I'm very excited about the Golden Dome. It's going to give us very strong protection. We've already started there, but they had courage, because somebody has to use that equipment, and they fought with tremendous courage, and they continue to fight with tremendous courage. But they don't have, they're losing our equipment, and Russia's really taken a very positive, very strong. I mean, what they've done the last couple of weeks.
Without military reasons, that's what they're doing. 700 drones a day, missiles, bombing cities. This is not because of military goals. It is just creating panic, keeping people out of their sleeps, hitting towns. It's really terrible, and it is meaning a lot of people lose their lives, but also the infrastructure, whole cities being.
Well, they're wiping out the electric. It's going to take years to rebuild it. That's going to be the next problem. Because, but that's going to take a long time. Cities, many of the cities are knocked down to the ground. Many of the people have left. But many have stayed. I don't know if they actually stayed. Most have stayed, actually. It's incredible that they stay knowing that a missile could be hitting your apartment house, and your apartment house that you're sitting in could collapse on top of you. And they do very heavy construction. They don't use rebar. They do very thick concrete construction. Those are heavy buildings, big buildings, and heavy buildings, and they collapse like they're made out of paper. It's unbelievable to see this happening with people, so many people being killed. So we think we're going to make progress, and we hope we're going to make progress. In the meantime, we're going to get you good service on what you need. And we really became friendly with NATO this last meeting. You know, we went from 2% to 5%, which everyone said was not even a possibility. They weren't paying 2%. Many of them were paying much less than 2%.
But even those, since you became president, all committed to the 2% before the summit, and now collectively they committed to the 5%.
That's right, they did, and they've been very good. And I think I made a lot of friends over there. We had a couple of days of very intensive talks, And they're great people. They're leaders of countries. Many of them great countries, some of them smaller countries, but for the most part, that's some very solid, strong countries. And very successful. Some of them are among the most successful countries in the world. So that's the story. We hope that's going to have an impact on Vladimir Putin, and we hope it's going to have an impact on Ukraine also. We want to make sure that Ukraine does what they have to do. All of a sudden they may feel emboldened, or maybe they don't want. You know, this is a very difficult situation.
Ukraine wants a peace deal.
I think so.
And they will stay committed to that, there's no doubt. They want it.
Yeah.
But the Russians have to be
They have to continue to want it, though.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
You and I will make sure of that.
All of a sudden they get no.
You and I will make sure of that.
We'll make sure. I feel confident that they will do what has to be done. Plus, we have certain parameters that both sides know, and we already know what should be done. So I think that's going to be very strong. We want everlasting peace. Any questions, friends? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. What was the tipping point for you in making this decision? Was it a conversation with President Putin? Was it a piece of intelligence? And why are you giving 50 more days?
I think it's a very short period of time. I think, don't forget, I've just really been involved in this for not very long. And it wasn't initial focus. This is a Biden war. This is a Democrat war, not a Republican or Trump war. This is a war that would have never happened. It shouldn't have happened. A lot of people being killed. When the final numbers come in, you're going to see a lot more people are being killed in this war than you think, than you've been writing about. It's a very deadly war. They're all bad, but this is a very deadly war. The numbers are going to be far greater. When an apartment house comes down, and they say 2 people were slightly injured. No, many people were killed. And those numbers will be at some point accurately reported. So far, they're not. It's a deadly war. I think that you're just going to see, I think you're going to see strong movement. I hope so. You know, the secondary tariffs are very, very powerful.
What about the tariffs that the Republicans in the House and the Senate have right? Those are 500%. Why are you doing 100%?
Well, the Republicans are moving very strongly in the Senate, giving us total control of it, but I'm not sure we need it, but it's certainly good that they're doing it. And Lindsey Graham's working hard, the whole Rick Johnson, all of them, they're all working hard. And they're in coordination with Mike Johnson, Speaker in the House. And I think they've actually crafted a pretty good piece of legislation. It's probably going to pass very easily, and that includes Democrats. And there's some little tweaks, but I don't want to say I don't need it because I don't want them to waste their time. It could be very useful. We'll have to see. But we can do secondary. We're probably talking about 100% or something like that. We can do secondary tariffs without the Senate, without the House. But what they're crafting also could be very good.
So are you suggesting then that the Congress should move forward with those sanctions, the 500%, and that your 100 would be a separate additional package?
Yeah, I mean, the 500 is, sort of meaningless after a while because at a certain point it doesn't matter. It's not going to be, it's 100. 100 is going to serve the same function. But, I have it at 100%. They may have it, I don't know what they're going to end up with. They may have it at 100 too. They may have it at 500. But they're doing some good work in the House, and I think in the House and the Senate. And as you know, they're coordinated, and they can have it done quickly. They said they'll have it as quickly as I need it. So we'll see. We're talking to him. In fact, John Thune's coming over later on to talk.
Did you call for it?
Yeah, he's gonna come over.
Thank you, Mr. President. Is it your view that Vladimir Putin mischaracterized his dedication to? Is it your view that Vladimir Putin misguided, did not clarify his intention to a peace deal? And what happens now in the next phase? Is there?
We're gonna see. I mean, we're gonna go for a period of time. Maybe he'll start negotiating. I think I felt. I don't know about you, Mark, but I felt that we had a deal about 4 times. And here we are, still talking about it.
And he didn't send serious people to the negotiations. So I remember that you were able with Mark Rubio and with Steve Witkoff to get these talks going in Istanbul. I remember I was myself in Turkey for NATO business in May. And we really put pressure on the Ukrainians to send a senior team to Istanbul, and they did. But then the Russians came up with this historian explaining history of Russia since 1250.
We thought, and I thought, we should have had a deal done a long time ago. But it just keeps going on and on and on. And every night people are dying. A lot of Russian soldiers are dying, by the way. And a lot of Ukrainian soldiers. But a lot of Russian soldiers.
100,000 Russian soldiers since 1st of January. 100,000 Russian soldiers dead since January. So if anybody in Moscow is listening to this, again, 100,000 Russians in January. That's what President Putin is doing at the moment.
Yeah, please.
Will these be Patriot missiles specifically, or Patriot batteries that you're finding? And
It's everything. It's Patriots, it's all of them. It's a full complement with the batteries. Well, we're gonna have some come very soon, within days, actually. It's a couple of the countries that have Patriots are gonna swap over and will replace the Patriots with the ones they have, and Matt will coordinate with NATO. But so it's gonna be, they're gonna start arriving very soon.
And this afternoon, of course, this 2 weeks, the German defense minister is visiting Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, and we'll discuss also, I think, on this whole Patriot thing. Norway is involved, so that's on the Patriots, but this whole deal is also about missiles or ammunition, so it's broader than Patriots.
We have one country that has 17 Patriots getting ready to be shipped. They're not gonna need them for that. So we're gonna work a deal where the 17 will go, or a big portion of the 17 will go to the Russia. That can be done very quick.
Mr. President.
Yeah.
Could this transaction with NATO be viewed as a step towards achieving peace, letting Putin know that now Zelensky has a little bit more powerful tools in his tool chest, and maybe that brings him to the table to achieve peace? So I know that you wanted to do that.
Brian, that's what we've been saying. I think you might have expressed it better if you wanted to.
I mean, that's exactly what
That's
the summary.
It was a nice summary. I think he's done better than us. He's a very good guy, I can tell you that. But, no, it's well said. Yeah, I think this is a chance of getting peace. Or it's just gonna be the same thing. I have to tell you, Europe has a lot of spirit in this war. A lot of people, when I first got involved, I really didn't think they did, but they do. And I saw that a month ago, and you were there, most of you, many of you were there. The level of the esprit de corps spirit that they have is amazing. They really think it's a very, very important thing to do, or they wouldn't be doing it. Look, they're agreeing to, they're paying for everything. We're not paying anymore. We have an ocean separating us. They said, we have a problem, we make the best stuff, but we can't keep doing this. And Biden should have done this years ago. He should have done it from the beginning, but he didn't. He didn't know he was there. This guy, what a horrible job they did in this country. And I just hope between the border and this and so many other places, what a horrible administration. The worst administration in history, in my opinion. It's not my opinion, I think it's everybody's. But this is something that shouldn't happen because we can end it. I do want to make one statement. Again, this is not Trump's war. We're here to try and get it finished and settled, whatever.
Jeremy, I want to read you something. These price hikes seem like PG&E is punishing me for profits they're missing out on from solar.
Our profits have nothing to do with solar.
Or how much you use, baby. They're set by the state. If you use more, it doesn't mean we make more. Doesn't mean that.
Does not mean. Does not mean. Same old phone? Nah. It's me in 3 time zones. One eye on an edit.
Because nobody wins with this. This is a loser from every standpoint. This was Biden and this was other people. And it's very sad. It's a very sad situation. This gentleman's doing a great job. He's good. I think he's going to get it. And Matt and everybody else that's working on it, I think he'll get this thing hopefully off.
You praised European countries today as standing up for Ukraine, as being strong. Will you allow them to continue to negotiate tariffs lower than 30% before August 1st, or is the deal set?
What does that mean? You mean you're talking about the tariffs? Oh, you're back on tariffs. You're on more friendly tariffs, right? A little bit more friendly tariffs. No, we're going to be talking to people. We have, I wanted to show this one. They were talking about, well, when's he going to make the deal? The deals are already made. The letters for the deals. are no deals to make. They would like to do a different kind of a deal, and we're always open to talk. We are open to talk, including to Europe. In fact, they're coming over, they'd like to talk.
So is there any concern about the U.S. stockpiles? There was a pause in delivery of weaponry to Ukraine in order to evaluate, apparently, the U.S. stockpiles. What came out of that?
Evaluation. I mean, this was a very big, what we're talking about today is a very, very big day. And what Pete was doing, and me too, I knew what Pete was doing, was evaluation, because we knew this was going to happen. And now we actually announced it. They voted on it, it's all been done. So obviously that has a big impact on, you know, when you say pause, obviously you're not going to be doing things if you don't know what's going to happen here. But we were pretty sure this was going to happen, so we did a little bit of a pause. But this is a very big, event today. This is something very
If Putin escalates further, how far are you willing to go in response?
in what?
How far are you willing to go if Putin were to escalate, send more bombs and kind of
Don't ask me the question. How far? I want to get the war settled. They're not Americans that are dying in it, and, you know, I have a problem, and JD has a problem. It's a stance that he's had for a long time. But they're not Americans dying, but there are a lot of people dying, and on something that should be able to be settled. And we all agree with that. This group of people, you know, want to defend our country, but, you know, ultimately, having a strong Europe is a very good thing. It's a very good thing. So I'm okay with it. Yeah, please.
What the Europeans are willing to pay for, and it sounds like, well, are you ruling out the U.S. paying for some additional weapons through drawdown authority?
Because basically what the president is saying, he is willing, of course, taking consideration what the U.S. needs itself. So it's not that you can have a shopping list and you can order whatever you want, because the U.S. has to make sure that the U.S. keeps its hands on what the U.S. needs, also to keep the whole world safe. Because in the end, you are one agent of the whole world. You're the most powerful nation on earth, the most powerful military on earth. But given that, the U.S. has decided to indeed massively supply Ukraine with what is necessary through NATO. Europeans 100% paying for that. And what we have been doing over the last couple of days is talking with countries, and I just mentioned the ones who in the first wave immediately said, we want to chip in. And then you're really talking about big numbers. Take Germany visiting today, they're really talking about big numbers.
I spoke with Germany, spoke with most of the larger countries, and they are really enthusiastic about this. And, you know, they're willing to go very far. I will tell you, as for your question, how far would I go? They want to go very far. They don't want this to happen. That's why I think from Putin's standpoint, it would really be good because the country's economy is doing very poorly. He's got to get his economy back. He's got to save his economy, save his country in a sense. But the economy can be destroyed. He's destroyed a lot of countries over the years. He wants to get that economy back. And yeah, he's got a great country for trading. Another thing, they could use the assets instead of war. He's got some tremendous potential. That's what I would say.
How did you tell Putin this was coming?
I speak to him a lot about getting this thing done. And I always hang up and say, well, that was a nice phone call. And then missiles are launched into Kiev or some other city. And it's strange. And after that happens, 3 or 4 times you say, the talk doesn't mean anything. My conversations with him are always very pleasant. You see, it's that very lovely conversation. And then the missiles go off that night. I go home, I tell the First Lady, you know, I spoke with Vladimir today. We had a wonderful conversation. She said, oh, really? Another city was just hit. So it's like, he's, I don't want to say he's an assassin, but he's a tough guy. He's been proven over the years. He's fooled a lot of people. He fooled Bush. He fooled a lot of people. He fooled Clinton, Bush, Obama, Biden. He didn't fool me. But what I do say is that at a certain point, you know, ultimately talk doesn't talk. It's got to be action. It's got to be results. And I hope he does it. It's potentially such a great country to be wasting so many people on this and the money. And look at what's happened to his economy. Look at what's happened. So
And with the threat in 50 days,
yeah,
we will be hit very hard.
I mean, look, I hope he's going to do it. He knows the deal. He knows what a fair deal is. If there is such a thing as a fair deal. There's no winners here. There's no losers. There's no loser. And I dealt with him from the beginning. It wouldn't have happened, but I will say Ukraine was the apple of his eye. We talked about it. It was the apple of his eye, but it wasn't going to happen. And he understood that it wasn't going to happen. And then I noticed, after I was out, I noticed soldiers forming at the border. And then I heard horrible and stupid things being said from the other side. And I said, they're really handling it very, very wrong. It's a shame. Yeah.
Can I add one thing, and that is about President Trump, because you can often generate themselves, your first phone call is I think you did exactly what I hoped you would. That is breaking the tempo, starting the conversation, because you have to test it. I know Putin very well from the days when I was Prime Minister in the Netherlands. You have to test it. And you did this, and you really gave him a chance to be serious, to get to the table, to start negotiations. Steve Witkoff, Marco Rubio, we all tried to help. But you've now come to a point where you say, well, hey.
We actually thought we had probably 4 times a year. And you would call and would say, this looks good. And then the deal wouldn't happen because bombs would be thrown out that night and you'd say, we're not making any deals. It was like,
But you making the tempo was crucial because you had to start that process. You were the only one who was able to do that.
I think we'll get it done.
Do you think he's reasonable enough to negotiate an
I
end to
think
this?
we're gonna get it done. I think, look, this is a very powerful situation. You have very wealthy countries buying the best equipment in the world. And we have the best equipment in the world. We make equipment like no other. You know, our submarines, nuclear submarines are so powerful. They're the most powerful weapon ever built. And we have the best in the world they're 20 years behind, 25 years behind us. We have the greatest equipment anywhere in the world. I just hope we don't have to use it. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. On a separate topic here, President Biden, of all people, spoke to the New York Times over the weekend. He did not speak to them on the record during his time in office at all, but he spoke to them recently. And he defended his use of the auto pen and said that he signed off on every decision. But at the same time, the Times reports that he did not individually approve each name for the categorical pardons that apply to large numbers of people. What are your take on that? Any new revelations from that?
Well, I mean, you're talking about the auto pen. Look, the auto pen, I think, is maybe one of the biggest scandals that we've had in 50 to 100 years. This is a tremendous scandal. And I know the people on the other side of the, see that desk, that Resolute desk, unfortunately, he used it before me. But, you know, we have a choice of 7 desks. They're all beautiful. But I chose the Resolute, and so did he, unfortunately. But the people on the other side of the Resolute desk, I know them. Lisa, the whole group, and they're no good. They're sick people. And I guarantee he knew nothing about what he was signing. I guarantee it. So they're going to figure it out, and we'll see what happens. But to me, the auto pen, you know, you elected president. You know what the auto pen is supposed to do? Sign thousands of letters from young people that write. We get thousands of letters a week, says here, right? Thousands. I mean, tens of thousands sometimes. I look at a room, there's a room where we have many, many people working, responding, sending letters back. That's what an auto pen's supposed to be. To write to a young 7-year-old boy that writes to the president and he wants to be president someday and he loves America. That's what the auto pen's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be for signing major legislation, all of the things. No, the auto pen, and I doubt he knew. I doubt they even spoke to him about it. I think it's called the freewheeling auto pen. Like, Biden was never for open borders. Biden was never for transgender for everyone. So I don't think I think the radical left people that took over the White House. And if I didn't win, our country was finished. You know, when I was in, and I said this a couple of times, I hope I don't bore you with it, but when I was in Saudi Arabia, I was in Qatar, I was in UAE, and then I met with all of your leaders, including you, a great leader. He's now the leader of many countries, not just. No. But I met with a lot of leaders over the last 2 months in the Middle East and all of the NATO countries. And I will tell you, they had one common phrase. They thought America was dead 1 year ago. And today they say, they all say it, and I hope you'll back me up on this, but they say now it's the hottest country anywhere in the world. It is. Look at our numbers. Look at the numbers we made. You see, we made 25 billion last month. We didn't make that for years. The tariffs are kicking in. The economy is very strong. Even though we have a Fed person who's terrible, who doesn't know what the hell he's doing, but that's all right. We blow through interest rates. We're doing so well, we blow through it. Be nice because people would be able to buy housing a lot easier. But think of it. We thought your country was dead, and they were dealing with China because they were really going to China, but not anymore. But we thought your country was dead, and now you have the hottest country anywhere in the world. So we've done a really good job, and it's an honor to have this man. This man is a star, and he's going to be dealing with another one of my stars, Matt, and you're going to do a great job, Matt Whitaker. Okay? Thank you very much, everybody.
Hi, Mark Bargett, Sandy Hook Thomas here. When the governor shot his way into Sandy Hook Elementary School on December 14th, 2012, he loaded his AR-15 with 30 round magazines, so he could continue firing without having to change magazines. He fired 154 rounds in around 4 minutes and killed 26 people. And one of those 26 people was my 17-year-old son, Daniel. I can't bring Daniel back, but I can save others. Please sign the petition and urge Congress to make assault rifles illegal for civilians. There's no practical application in civilized society for assault rifles. We need your help. Please tell Congress to outlaw them. Thank you.
Traditional knee braces don't fix cartilage degeneration. This one does.
In 14 days, my knee pain went from a 9 to a 2. The WellKnee knee brace really worked to ease my pain. It made my knees feel stronger, helped me walk with confidence, and improved my overall mobility. It's a natural way to deal with knee pain, swelling, and joint discomfort. I ordered it online, and it arrived super fast. It's easy to slip on and so comfortable. Wearing it all day is a big plus. When I take it off, I can really feel the difference. My knees used to hurt so bad, but after using this brace, the pain just faded away. By the 10th day, I barely felt any pain. My legs don't feel weak anymore, and I've got way more energy. Everyone wants to know my secret, and it is just this WellKnee knee brace. It changed my life. Right now, it's 70% off, but only for a little while.
Well, Mr. President, what an honor to be here in the White House with you. Second time around, and I think when people look at the first 6 months of this administration, you have had more success, I think, than many presidents in history throughout the term of their entire term in office. A lot of people look at what you've done, though, and they say, had you not had 4 years in between, maybe all this success would not be possible. Do you agree with that? As devastating as the 2020 loss was, as bad for the country as the last 4 years were, do you think you'd be as successful as you have been without the 4 years in between?
Well, experience is very important in life. I think talent is more important than experience, but if you can have them both somehow, it's a very good thing. But experience is very important. I think it also helped. It was very bad for the country, but it also helped to have 4 years of horror. What went before me was horror. And by comparison, I think anything looks good. And I don't want to demean what we've done because we've done a lot of records, but what they've done to our country should never be forgiven. Allowing millions and millions of people to come into a country that shouldn't be here. It's such a big aspect of what we're doing now with the borders, and it could have been so easy. When I gave over the country, the border was great. Now it's better than it was, but it was much worse than it was in 2016 when I took it over. There was a border problem also. But I think when people see the horror show that we had for 4 years, an absolute horror show, they tried to kill, it was almost like they tried to kill our country. And the beautiful thing is now we have the hottest country in the world. You know, I was with the King of Saudi Arabia, the leader of Qatar, the leader of UAE, and many other leaders at NATO, separately, a whole group, and every one of them virtually said, you have the hottest country in the world right now. And 6 months ago, they also said, we thought your country was dead. They actually thought it was dead, and it felt dead. We had not only no leadership, we had negative leadership. It was a regressive leadership. So I think that probably makes it look good too, but we've done a lot.
Well, you know, throughout the 4 years, while you were not here at this White House, I know that there were some very dark times. Some times where people counted you out, thought that you'd never come back, yet you're here right now. So in those moments, what was it that kept you going? Why is it that you were back here in this White House now, despite so many people saying it wasn't possible?
Well, number one, I saw what was happening to the country. They were destroying our country. They were allowing people to come into our country from prisons, from mental institutions, gang members, the worst gang members in the world, make our gang members look like, you know, nice people. They were coming in at levels that nobody had ever seen before. No checking, no vetting, no anything, just come into our country and do whatever you want. And we were letting people coming in from prisons. Prisons were opened in many countries. They talk about Venezuela, but it was far more than Venezuela, all over the world. The Congo, they opened their prisons, they emptied them out into our country. And I saw what was happening, and it didn't take long. I saw that they were going to go, I built hundreds of miles of wall. There were little sections that you had to fill in just to close it in, and I saw that they weren't going to build them. And I even called in, I said, when are you going to just put those little sections? Would have taken 3 weeks. And I said, you know, they want to have open borders. And that's what it was, open borders, no vetting. To me, that's, you know, inflation I've already taken care of, but so many of the other things, look at energy, look at fuel, look at this, so many things we've done. But, you know, it's a big job getting thousands, hundreds of thousands of criminals out of our country, murders. 11,888 murders. Many of those people have killed more than one person. Think of it. Murderers kill more than one person. More than half of them. And he let them into our country. It's not even, you know, we love this country. It's not even believable. And I guess it wasn't him so much as people surrounding the beautiful Resolute desk. And I know them all. And they're not good. They're smart, but they're not good. They're smart in a different way, but evil intention. And what he was the worst president in the history of our country because of them also. But he was the worst president in the history of our country, and nobody's done such damage to our country. And we're fixing it, and I think we're fixing it very fast.
Well, we are at the anniversary of your Butler rally, where Eric and I, along with Nathan Taylor, watched on live television as so many people across the country and really the world did when there was the assassination attempt on you. And as we come to this moment, I'm thinking back to what happened right after that. You actually called all of us on the phone. And it was amazing to me that that was what you thought to do, that you wanted us to know that you were okay. And I know that's a moment none of us will ever forget, and I'm sure for you, you know, tenfold.
Well, it was unforgettable. I didn't know exactly what was going on. I got whacked, there's no question about that. And fortunately got down quickly. People were screaming, and I got down quickly, fortunately, because I think they shot 8 bullets. And one got me, one got another one, and one got another one, and one killed Corey, the firefighter, great guy. And, you know, we had a tremendous, massive crowd. Tens of thousands of people were there. And our sniper, within less than 5 seconds, was able to get him from a long distance with one shot. If he didn't do that, you would have had an even worse situation. It was really bad. But he really did his name is David, and he did a fantastic job. He went about his business just about 4 seconds. And that's when it all stopped, and he got him perfectly from a very long distance. We got a little bit lucky in that regard.
There was so much conversation after that, though. You had members of Congress visiting the site there, people really on top of wanting to get answers to that. But I think we still are wondering.
Yeah.
Do you know, are we going to get answers? Will the American people get answers as to what ultimately happened there that day?
So they briefed me numerous times, the FBI, the Secret Service, sort of everybody. DOJ, Pamela's doing a fantastic, I think she's doing a fantastic job. But they briefed me, and I'm satisfied with it. I'm satisfied with it. They should have had somebody in the building. That was a mistake. They should have had communications with the local police. They weren't tied in. And they should have been tied in. So there were mistakes made. And that, shouldn't have happened. And that building was a prime building in terms of what they were trying to do. So, but I was satisfied in terms of the bigger plot, the larger plot. I was satisfied. And, I have great confidence in these people. I know the people. And, they're very talented, very capable. They had a bad day, and I think they'll admit that. They had a rough day. They didn't do a good job. They shouldn't have had anybody in that building. That building was a prime location for somebody that was disturbed, mentally disturbed. And we had, a couple of other events. It's a very dangerous job being president. I say a race car driver, 1% of 1%, think of that, die. It's not a lot. A bull rider, I think that's pretty dangerous. It's like 1/10 of 1% die. And with the president, it's like 5%. Why didn't you tell me this? I could have maybe made a different decision. But I wouldn't have made a different decision because we're doing so well. The country's back. And it's, as I said, everyone's saying we've got the hottest country in the world. And we've done it within, when the King of Saudi Arabia told me that was 4 months, 4.5 months. And now it's almost 6 months. And when you think it was, I would have said it would have taken longer than that, but we've been very active. Even doing this interview, I feel guilty because I'm supposed to right now be working.
We appreciate it, though.
It's, no, we're really busy, and doing a great job. We have other countries wanting to do business with us so badly. They never appreciated it, now they do. They took advantage of our country on trade, on the military, on NATO. You saw I solved the NATO problem last week, and we had every country is now paying substantially more money, like from 2% to 5%, and they weren't paying the 2, but they're paying the 5. It's over $1 trillion a year. Think of that, over $1 trillion a year, and it's going to make it something. And we got that done, and we have a big voice in NATO now. We have really not much of a voice. With Biden, you had no voice at all. He didn't know where he was. And so we're doing well. The trade thing is going to be very big. And we're sending out letters as we speak. They literally just started going out. And I signed the letters. And it's basically telling countries that we are going to give you the privilege to shop and work in our country. And I think people are going to respect it. You'll read the letter later, but it's a very similar letter, just different amounts, different numbers, different amounts of tariffs. And I think it's very good. And in some cases, we'll make deals. We'll make a direct deal as opposed to a letter. And we've already made some of them with various countries. But it's a tremendous amount of money to this country. We were taken advantage of on trade, and we were taking advantage of on military. We protect a country, we got nothing for protecting. We'd spend billions of dollars to protect countries. I don't want to go into the countries, but pretty obvious which ones. And they're friendly, or some of them aren't that friendly. I mean, some of them we're protecting countries that don't even like us. The whole thing is crazy, but if they don't like us, we'll let them know very quickly. But it's really incredible. The potential of this country is incredible. It's been run very foolishly. It's been run stupidly, so stupidly. And some of the countries are very upset now. because they've been taking advantage of us for 30, 40 years. And I had it stopped. I was stopping in the process, and then we had the COVID in the last part of my administration. But we have the strongest economy in the history of our country. And this is going to be better, I predict. This is going to be better. The money coming in, the tariffs coming in, hundreds of billions of dollars are coming in, they're pouring in. And I had started that, and China paid us a lot of money. No other president got anything from China, not 10 cents. And I got hundreds of billions of dollars. And who would have thought, right? Who would have thought? But we took in a lot of money, but the COVID ended a little bit sooner. And we did a good job with that. We helped other countries. We made the ventilators. We became the king of ventilators, right? But we did a good job with it. But it was what it was, a vicious, very hard to guard against disease, plague, whatever you want to call it. And I think we saved a lot of lives.
Well, you know, you talk about money coming into the country, how big, you know, the tariffs will be and leveling the playing field. You asked to have the one big beautiful bill on your desk to sign on July 4th. You got it on America's birthday. And I think it was such a huge success for you, for House Republicans, for the House Senate, for the Senate. The question I think a lot of people have is when will they actually start to see the positive impact from the one big beautiful bill in their lives? The tax cuts, all of the big things that we could see from that.
They're already seeing it, and we are getting investment because of that bill. We're having investment made in this country that nobody's ever believed. We're up to close to $15 trillion. Other administrations they wouldn't do that in 4 years. $15 trillion, and we did it in. That was a number from a couple of months ago, and now it's substantially higher than that. We're having car companies come in and build their plants here, which they wouldn't have even thought about. They would have never done it. We have AI, which is the big hot thing, and they're spending trillions of dollars in this country. They wouldn't have done that without what we just did last week. And, you know, I tell Republicans, you have to speak positively about it. Like when I have a chance with you and your show is doing so well, your ratings are so good, what's going on?
Better after this.
Well, your ratings were good without this. You're doing fantastically well. And I watch you, I watch Mark Levin. You have some good people, and it's not easy to watch. It's very, very much television, must-see television, but congratulations, it's really a great success. So I say to people, Republicans, or anybody, explain the bill, because it's so big and so good. Because the Democrats, they only do one thing good, and that's complain. And they say, it's going to cause death, and this, and that. They don't mean it's a soundbite. Somebody gave them a soundbite. It's going to cause death. Not going to cause death. It's going to keep people alive, and it's going to make our country successful, and really successful. So I always say, you have to explain, because they have soundbites, like Russia was a soundbite. They made up the 51 intelligence agents. They made up, it came from Russia. No, it came from Hunter Biden's bathroom or bedroom or wherever the hell he wrote it and did that terrible stuff. But they had, they make up a soundbite, and they send it to the fake news, and they send it all over the place. So we have to fight back, and we have to live by our wits. And it's unbelievable. It's the most incredible bill, one of the most incredible bills ever passed, and it's the biggest. It's the biggest bill of its kind ever passed, and we have to talk about it. When you think about no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime, a big tax cut in addition to that, plus we're saving the tax cut that we made years ago, which is big. It expired in another couple of months. It would have expired. They would have had a 68% tax increase, and now they have a tax cut. And you have to explain that to people, because, the public, they're driving a cab, they're working as a lawyer, accountant, or a teacher, or doing any one of a million different things. They're not into it like we are. You have to explain it, so every chance you get. Because what they do is they set a phony, they're fake. The Democrats are fake. They're part of the fake news. And the fake news will take it, and they'll go with it. Because I have learned so much about the news, about how crooked these newspapers are, like the New York Times is pure crooked. The Washington Post, so many of them. It's so, I so admire honest reporting. There's not that much of it though. We really don't have that much. And I think to make America great again, you need at least, we have to get a bigger percentage than we have. And nobody understands why. Why would somebody make up stories to make Biden look good when the man was grossly incompetent? What good does it do? I mean, other than lose credibility, they're down at the lowest number for credibility that they've ever had. They're way below Congress, which is very interesting. And I think Congress came a long way recently because we have people like Mike Johnson, he's been incredible. John Thune's been incredible. All the people under them and, the Senate and the House, I've gotten to know them really well and maybe better than ever because of this. This was almost an impossible thing to get approved because, remember, you didn't have one Democrat vote, even though these are the biggest tax cuts in history, even though all of the things it's going to bring, jobs, it's going to bring everything. We didn't have one Democrat vote because they said don't vote. And the one thing they do well is they stay together. You're reading stories now that a lot of them wanted to vote for it, but they couldn't. They couldn't do it. I read one this morning about a certain Democrat from a certain location in New York who wanted to vote so badly for it. He said, this is going to kill our career if we don't vote. And he really didn't vote because they really do control that. It's pretty incredible. And they stick together. I admire that they stick-to-itiveness, but at the same time, I would say there's got to be something where when you're doing something good for the country. So we had to get all because we have the majority by just a little bit. We had to get every single vote, and I guess it was 218 to 2. Think of that, 218 to 2. And that was incredible. That was a House vote. And the Senate vote was, relatively similar. But we didn't get one Democrat vote in the Senate. We didn't get one Democrat vote in the House. And I guess we had 3 votes. We had Rand Paul, right? Terrible. So sad. When I watch him, and it's so sad. Because there's never any suggestion about what to do, like, can we do this? It's just like, they want to go, no. You have a guy named Massey in the House, and we call him Rand Paul Jr. He's just a no vote, automatic no vote. It's not like, gee whiz, fight for something. There's no fight. There's just no vote. I think they think it's good publicity for them. I think they think that. But it was very sad. Susan Collins, as you know, in the Senate voted no. It's shocking. And so good for their areas.
But you got it done.
We got it done. No, but when you think that out of all those votes, like in the Senate, we couldn't have more than 3, and we got it done. And in the House, we couldn't have more than 3. And the House was 218 to 2. It's pretty amazing when you think of it. You just don't do that. It's almost impossible. We got it done. And the reason we got it done because it's so good. And remember this, the Democrats wanted to vote for it, most of them, many of them, because it's all good stuff. I mean, it's all lower taxes and incentives and this, that, so many good things. Great on energy, stopping the EV mandate, which, hurts Elon, and, it's too bad. But I told him long before he endorsed me, I said, you'll never be with me because I'm going to stop the mandate, because the mandate said everybody has to have an electric car within a few years. And I said, that's not going to happen because not everybody wants an electric car. They want to have a hybrid or they want to have a gasoline-powered car. For whatever reason, they want something else. Electric's like at 7%. And we opened it up to electric, but we ended the EV mandate. You don't have to have an electric car now. But I said, Elon's never going to love this. And I told him before he endorsed me, he gave me this beautiful endorsement. I said, I'm against everybody having an electric car. He said, you know what, as long as I'm on the same footing as everybody else. I thought it was a great statement, but it turned out not to be so because he was very upset about it.
Eyes up here.
Everyday products for women over 40. I call it the daily routine. Learn more at laurahill.com.
What's different about you? It's Chevron with Techron. I'm
feeling so good. I'm getting unbeatable mileage and working on keeping those dang parts clean. Come on, what is it? I'm telling you, Chevron with Techron. Awesome decision on our part.
Extreme heat can be deadly and happen anywhere. To stay safe, the American Red Cross recommends staying hydrated by drinking water, staying cool by spending time in air-conditioned places, and staying connected by checking on others. For more information, visit redcross.org/eatcheck.
Well, you seem to have a knack for putting people around you who are successful and make you even more successful. I think this has been sort of a trait of yours your entire life. If you go back to the Trump Organization, you gave people opportunities that maybe they would never have taken themselves. And I feel like you've often seen things in people that they don't even see in themselves as well.
Especially women.
You did it for me.
Well,
I would say that for me as well. But your cabinet is comprised of so many incredible people, and people that even a year ago, so many would never have imagined, like RFK Jr., who a year ago was running for president as a Democrat. Why do you think you have this ability? And I feel like it has really been to your benefit. Look at this incredible cabinet you've put together. They're all people who are working to make America great again.
They've been incredible, actually. The cabinet's been incredible. And I had a lot of good people in my first term, but again, I came here, I had never done it before, and I'm picking people that I never heard of. And I'm taking recommendations of, people that were sort of stupid people, like a John Bolton, he's a stupid guy, or Jesper, who was terrible. I mean, he was terrible, but I took some recreation, but overall I got it right. I mean, we rebuilt our military, we did so many great things, but I now know the people. I know them so well, I know them better than anybody. I spent 4 years with, sometimes you hit and miss, and sometimes you don't. But we had great people the first time, but we have really good people this time, and they get along with each other. They love each other, they love the country, and it's smoother. I think it's smoother. A lot of people thought my first term was phenomenal. I did. I thought, we got the largest tax cut in history, the biggest tax cut in history, the biggest regulation cuts in history by 4 times. Nobody even came close. We rebuilt our military. They gave some of it away to Afghanistan in one of the most embarrassing moments ever. But we terminated ISIS. ISIS was 100% gone and terminated. They started making a little bit of a comeback since Biden got in, as you know, but they were gone, and we'll take care of it. But now we're doing things that maybe are on even a different level. Now it's been, especially this last couple of weeks, has been pretty amazing.
This may be a bit of a self-serving question, but how important has family been to you? And I mean, I'm going to say the last 10 years in all of this.
Well, like your husband is great. I mean, he's great. Whether he was my son or whether he was an executive, you can't hire anybody like him. He's so good, and he runs the business, and Dawn helps run the business, and Ivanka is doing a lot of things. She's an amazing person. She's a little bit involved, when they want words of wisdom or whatever. She did a very good job here. All she wanted, and she could have had any job. I told her, I'll put you at the UN. She would have blown like somebody like Nikki Haley would have gotten blown away by Ivanka. She could never compete with Ivanka, but she did a good job at the UN, but it wouldn't be the same ball game. And I gave Ivanka choices of things that you might have taken, and I might have taken, and all she wanted to do is get people jobs. She said, no, Daddy, I really, and she got hundreds of thousands of jobs. She'd go around and work hard, never got credit for it, but she'd go out and she'd go to Walmart, she'd go to ExxonMobil, she'd go to all these big companies, and she'd give people jobs by the thousands. So I get, just added up to, I mean, I could tell you what the number is, but I don't want to say it because nobody would believe it, but she worked hard and so competent, and she did a great job. Never, if I were a Democrat, she would have been a legend, you all would have been legends, but I think you're legends anyway, if you think about it. You wouldn't be doing any better. Now it's somehow there's a different mindset, but the kids have been amazing. I have really, really good kids.
Well, some people have called you the bodyguard of Western civilization. How do you feel about that today?
Well, I understand what that means. It was going bad. We were going bad. This country was going bad. And I don't know that we would have had, when the King of Saudi Arabia talked to me about how we had the hottest, he said, your country was dead. We actually thought it was dead and gone. And they were already starting to talk to China about, getting involved in China, which was unnatural for them. A lot of people were talking to China and others about getting involved because we were a dead country. We were gone in the minds of many. I tell you, in my mind, one of the reasons I ran, I saw what was happening very early on. When I saw people pouring across our border, I said, no, put up that little, it would have taken three weeks to put up little sections of wall that we laid out because of legal reasons, condemnation reasons, different things. And because we wanted to bring our equipment back in through the wall, because we built hundreds of miles. And I said, why aren't they filling that in? It would have just been, then it would have been complete. In fact, I added a lot more. I built a lot more than I said I was going to build. I made it much longer. But I said, they want to have open borders. That was the first time I realized it. I didn't think it would be possible for anybody to want open borders because, who would want open borders? And open borders where people come in totally unvetted and unchecked. Totally. Just walk right in, walk right through. And some of the people, I know I want to be politically correct, but some of these people, you can look at them and you can say, these people are trouble. This is a rough group of people. And we're right now getting them out. And you know what? ICE and Border Patrol, Tom Holman, Christie's been amazing. Tom's been amazing. Tom was one of my first people that I put in. I said, you got to just do the border. He didn't want to do anything else. He just wanted to, because that's what he wants to do. But you have a big deal with lots of other things there. And I said, who'd be the best to head up Homeland Security? And he said, I'd like Kristen Moon. And I said, that's great. Now, I knew her very well, but I didn't know her that way. She was a great governor, South Dakota. Really did a good job. But boy, she's been great. And every one of I can't think of one who hasn't been at least very good. They've all been terrific, and it's been really good. But I think we get a lot of credit on the border because last month we had 0 people come into our country. 0 people come in, but they don't come in legally. They come in through a process. We want people to come in. We need people because we have a booming business climate now. And the farmers need people, and hotels need people, etc. But coming in illegally, we had 0. Now, even I'm not sure that I can believe that number. You're talking about hundreds of thousands, millions of people came in through Biden, and they say 0. But and the people that do the list tend to be a very liberal group. I will tell you, they've been there a long time. And I said, I'll accept it. But who's close to that number? I tell you what, if they said 0, and I'm going to take it, but it's hard to believe they're 0. We're talking about hundreds of miles of water. We've done a great job. And the problem with doing a great job that fast is people forget. Last time I did a great job, we had a border problem, nothing like it was this time. But we had a border problem, and I solved it in about 4 weeks. And I make speeches and talk about the border, and my people would say, sir, you shouldn't even waste your time. Nobody wants to hear about the border. Now that it's starting to be again, you don't hear about the border. We did numbers that were unbelievable, and I almost can't talk about it because nobody wants to hear it. But it was a big problem. But we do have a different problem. We have to get the people out that came in that are really bad, because we have some bad people that came in.
Just to wrap up here, you're talking about people not remembering. I don't think anyone will ever forget President Donald J. Trump. But when history looks back on this time in our country, when history looks back on you, how would you like to be remembered?
A good person, but a person that saved our country. I really believed our country was going down to the fall. I don't know if it ever could come back. And I really would like to be known as the man that saved our country.
Well, I think you've started off on the right track there.
So far.
Well, Mr. President, thank you for sitting down with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Amazon hates
All right, everyone. I appreciate every single one of you guys tuning in and for the live. Thank you guys very much. I watch these. I mean, it's just me watching these things all the time. So when I do it, I like to bring people along. I know a lot of people across the world don't get to see a lot of this information. So me putting it out there is just me trying to bring the information, whether it's good or bad information. It's information that people can use however they see fit. But I really appreciate. No problem, man. You're welcome, Thomas. Appreciate you. Thank you guys, man. Thank you, Thomas, James Arnold, Tom, Ordinary Person, Red Hood. You know, all the people that contributed in the chat. I'm watching all of it, man. I don't always say stuff because I just like the chat to be more natural. You know, I see people just going back and forth. I try not to get too involved unless I'm posting up something. But yeah, I do appreciate you guys. I do the lives about 2 to 3 times a week. It's just me watching the news. I watch Forbes News, I watch CNN, I watch Fox. You name it, I watch it all. And then I like to process things on my own. And I wish a lot of people would, you know, watch the news themselves and then, you know, formulate their own opinions and ideas instead of taking sound bites from different, you know, newscaster, news station. Again, I don't want to drag out the adios, but thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you guys commenting and interacting with each other. That brings the live so much livelier, makes it so much livelier. And if you've subscribed to my channel, appreciate you guys. Thank you very much for the subscription. I'm marching on 10,000 subscribers, and I couldn't do it without you guys. With that said, guys, I'm going to end the stream for tonight because I have to go to bed. I have to get to medical school tomorrow and get my stuff going on the road. So with that said, guys, thank you guys for subscribing. Remember that you were here on the ground floor when I was grinding. So when the channel gets bigger, you guys remember when it was a little small one like this. Thank you guys and have a wonderful night. May God bless all of you. May God bless the Republic. May God bless America.